Record button. All right. Well, welcome Great Plains Division to Leadership Academy number 7, and very fired up. This is one of my favorite seasons of the year, and if you're listening to the recording right now, we are in the Cabo Push. 8 days left until we go to Year-End Banquet. I know a lot of you are fired up about that. I know we have multiple people signed up for it, many people bringing guests. It's going to be a wild event. I just checked 10 silver cups throughout the region. We were the #1 region in the company as well. There are going to be 3 Hall of Fame inductions. There are going to be over 3 Rolex winner promotions and recognitions as well. And it is going to be probably one of the biggest and best we've ever had. So really looking forward to that, no doubt. Great Plains, congratulations on your success for 2019. Hey, Bailey. And really fired up about the direction that we're headed right now. I'd like you to have out your notes because opening comments are always the same, especially for Leadership Academies. I've also got some really good ideas on how to enhance these and make them better for 2020 and the next decade. And when I think about what we are building right now, I think about building around our 5 pillars that we talk about all the time. So before we do a little bit of 2019 recognition, I did want to start off with a little bit of reminders about what we're all about, right? And in the Great Plains Division, let's not forget, we have the word great in there, right? And we want to make sure that with everything we do, we are being great. So please put these in your notes as a reminder. And also please put these in your notes so that you're looking at it and asking yourself, how can I get better at these 5 strategic anchors? When I think about our mission statement, right, of what we do here at Vector Marketing and what we're about here in the Great Plains Division, it really circles around these 5 things. So these are what we call strategic anchors. If you've heard them before, awesome. You know, it's not about new, it's about true. If this is your first time, welcome. I know we've got Kyle here right now, Van Meter, out of the pilot office, just being promoted to an AMIT, and we're really excited about the direction that he's going. But here we go. So what we are committed to, number 1, is we're committed to growth. We're growth-minded individuals. We're growth-minded entrepreneurs, right? And we have to remember that growth doesn't happen by chance. Growth happens by choice. And you have to be willing to step outside your comfort zone, face your fears, and really do things that you've never done before in order to become a person that you've never been before. So for 2020, I want to challenge you on what are you doing to be intentional about your growth, right? Are you reading? Are you journaling? Are you networking with new types of people? Are you trying new things, right? And are you letting go of the old version of you? The second one is people first mentality. We're about making sure that we put people first. That means putting our customers first by doing the best demos and showing up the right way. But that also means putting our representatives first, putting their needs before their own. We had a phenomenal region call yesterday, and Brian Carter, who is our events coordinator for the TGP, mentioned that your people don't work for you as a manager. You work for your people. And if you help enough other people get what they want to get, you're going to get what you want as a returned gift. But it's about giving before you ask in return. Do you really know why your people work here? Do you really know what they want out of this opportunity? Do you really know in the interview what they're motivated by? I had the privilege of being able to watch Brandon Cobb run his interview recently. And when I watched that, what I was interested in is how he did his post. And at the end of the post, after he accepted somebody, he didn't just ask, hey, are you excited? He asked, hey, so now that you know you're a part of our team, do you have any idea of your biggest motivation with the job? From the moment he accepted them, hey, what are you going to be motivated by? What are you excited about? Trying to figure out how they tick and how they work. I loved that question. He also asked, like, hey, do you have any goals for yourself, right? How much money do you want to be making on a weekly basis? And then he would talk a little bit about what it would take to make that. And a lot of people, you'd be shocked right after being accepted, their monthly income was not more than a couple $100, which with the income that we offer and the commissions is totally doable for somebody, right? Even if they're part-time. So how are you putting your people first? How are you taking the time to understand your people and what they're looking to get out of an opportunity like this? Number 3 that we're about here at Great Plains is pursuing best practices. It's not about just showing up. It's about showing up the right way and showing up with a job to do. Are you constantly on the edge of innovation? Are we constantly, right, creating new programs, simplifying the business, getting back to the fundamentals? You know, here in the pilot, Brandon Cobb and I have really talked about the importance of triple threat program, which we'll discuss in a bit. And then we talked about, in addition to that, the importance of making sure that reps have 5 demos ahead and they're making 10 calls a day, right? So the strategy is not if we get that. The strategy is how frequently can we keep that being true, and how much can we get our people bought into the idea and the concept of doing it. There's so many best practices around the nation. Sometimes it's just fundamental weekly best practices. Sometimes it's the big best practices for a season of the business, like the JAM program. right? But what are we doing to take full ownership of that? You know, one of the biggest best practices for the spring is preparation for the summer with something called Facebook Jumpstart, and we'll be having Claire talk about that later on. Number 4 is showing up as your best, right? Everything you do, how you do something is how you do everything. Are you taking the time to show up as your best in a business like this? Showing up as your best means showing up early. Showing up as your best means dressing nice. It means respecting the people that you're in front of. It means putting in the extra work, right? To make sure that if you're your best, you're allowing other people to be influenced as their best as well. So what does your best look like? Have you asked that question recently? How do you know that you're at your best? Sometimes feelings lie to us, right? A lot. So putting yourself in the shoes of knowing that you're at your best. And the 5th and final thing is doing what's right and not what's easy. So doing the right thing. And I think we all know in the back of our heads what the right thing is to do. But the question is, how often do you choose that path? Right? And the more often you do, the more likely you're going to win 2020 and the decade. Choosing to be the person who makes a bunch of the little right choices. And that's going to lead to ultimate success. Understanding that success is not just in the numbers and the results and the scoreboard, but has a lot more to do with the hard work and the dedication and the effort that you're putting in as you go through things. Does that make sense? So very good. Well, I'm excited about that. I want to make sure that we are echoing those things. We're sharing those things. We're going back to those things. And we're asking ourselves, how can we get even better at producing those types of activities? Sound cool? So before we dive into our agenda, we've got personal development. We're going to talk a lot about finances for your next decade. I'm fired up about that. We've got professional development, talking about your best self, going from comfortable to confident. We're going to talk about Year in Banquet. We're going to talk also about not a new program, but a really important program called Triple Threat and how we really execute that properly in 2020. We're going to talk about some winter break expectations. And then today's skills topic will be all about advanced training programs. It'll be all about promotion, all about delivery, and Dirty 30 development and the fall and the fire that can bring. And then, of course, we'll wrap up with our Facebook Jumpstart, and we'll dive into our division meeting. So are we ready to go? Yes or yes?
Yeah.
All right. I hope you're fired up. Thank you for the energy. I run better meetings when I'm getting great energy and feedback from my group. To begin, I wanted to just go ahead and share with you guys. I'll kind of drag this over real quick, but for the recording, I'll go ahead and share the screen. Last week was week 1 of 2020, a brand new decade, and this is the national sales report. So if you haven't checked this out yet, pretty phenomenal results. But for week 1, let's see what the competition looks like for 2020 and beyond. You know, our top 10 CSPs all over 10 grand, right? Or close to 10 grand for the week. Some of the top 20 personal sales, right? Yeah, I can zoom in a bit. But some of the top 20 personal sales, pretty exciting. But check this out. Multiple reps over $10,000 as an individual, right? Pretty exciting. Some of those not even veteran reps, brand new reps. Pretty cool. Also, top 20 all over 7 grand in sales for 1 week. That's what's possible when you really commit to the job. Top 20 offices. Look at this. Dane Espegard, $128,000 in sales. By the way, over 60 grand of that was new business. Also, Brian Hurlman up at the 60K mark, Kyle Preeman up at the 60K mark, and multiples of those knocking out new business totals. So pretty exciting to the start to the year, right? I also look down here, scroll down, top 10 first full year district managers, right? This would be Bailey Homan's case, but number 10 at 15 grand. Number 1, check that out, $41,000 week. You'll see a lot of Eastern and Northeast blowing up because they really drive a big Jan program. Next up, top 10 division pilots. And when we scroll down, our region got beat, which is pretty typical for the first 2 weeks, but by the end of January, we're in the lead and we never looked back. So fired up for us to recognize that a Year in Banquet. But here's the deal. Even though we don't run that big of a Jan program, still doing 600,000, not far behind Central and Northeast. And when we scroll down, look at this. $3.3 million worth of Cutco being sold in the first 7 days of 2020. So I hope that you guys are thinking big. I see some faces right now in front of me at the pilot thinking like, gosh, what are we doing, right? If our numbers are small right now. And just realize that, you know, it doesn't matter what the market is. I think it's true as a district manager, as a division manager, as a region manager, you know, people are people, right? Sales are sales. So here's the deal. The manager makes the territory does not make the manager, right? And the management team makes the division, not the division making that management team. And we have to remember the speed of the leader is the speed of the team. So if we want 2020 to be the best year ever, we need to attract more high quality leaders. We need to make sure that those high quality leaders are setting a better example for everybody else that follows that comes from that. So I hope you're fired up about that. I love looking at the National Sales Report, even if it's just for perspective. You know, something I've done for years is print the National Sales Report on a Tuesday and promote it to my team on GroupMe, promote it to my training class on Friday, and really get people plugged in. One of the first things probably Kyle remembers out of going through his training is, hey, if you don't think people are buying Cutco and you've got some naysayers, let me just talk about facts, right? And it was just evidence and facts. $2.3 million, people are buying Cutco, no doubt. And I think it's only going to get bigger this week and beyond. So I hope you're looking forward to that. It's a pretty exciting start to the year, and it's going to be fun as we move forward. I want to talk about 2019. Please jot down some totals. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for some big performances, but I wanted to share with you our final standings for 2019. We finished at just over $2 million. So it was $2,016,000. So a pretty big number. And I just wanted to share with you in the pilot office, we did about 1.5 million. So thank you to every one of you. We got just over the 1.5 million number. And that means that for 3 years in a row now, the pilot office has been over 1.5 million bucks. I think that's a very big deal. Obviously, we're going after 2 million this year, and 3 million is a division for 2020. But when I think about that, what led to it? And here's what came down to, right? We did about 900,000 in new business sales. And then we did about 1.1 million in CSP sales. And when I think about our events team, I look at this binder that I got earlier, and it has all of the breakdowns. And I just want to share with you that overall for Oklahoma and Arkansas, which is the Great Plains division, here's what we did. We sold $932,000 at our events. And by the way, our total was only $1.1 million in overall old business sales. And it's only old business reps that are working at those events primarily. It makes sense? So 932,000 of the 1.1 million, right, came at the event. So that's my question to you. What are you doing to get yourself plugged into that team? What are you doing to get yourself to $15,000 in sales so you can go through the training, $20,000 so you can work on the part of the team, right, and start to really level that up? This is going to be the year that we are going to onboard so many more people. And by the way, Dallas has a lot bigger and better events, right? One of them is their state fair that's 24 days long, and they sold almost $1 million at, okay? But down in Texas, they did $1.8 million at the booth. So between the two divisions, we're doing $2.7 million at our events right now. And I wanted to share that with everybody because that is a huge component. And you know what? We only produced 90 events in the division last year. We've done the research already. There is approximately 250 events that we could be in throughout the state, and we're only in 90 of them doing just under $1 million bucks. So imagine what happens when we start to do all 250, right? Imagine what happens where it doesn't matter where you go, an event in the community in the state of Oklahoma and Northwest Arkansas, Cutco will be there, right? Everywhere you go, right? It's going to be so awesome because branding and publicity, right? So many more people knowing who we are and what we do. It's going to be a lot of fun. So I hope you're looking forward to that. I know that I am, and gosh, I'm so fired up about that. Last thing we need to recognize is Cabo standings, right? I think it's important for you to jot down. What are you at for the Cabo push? Do you know, right? And what are you going to get to? Showing up at year-end banquet is a goose egg, not a recommended thing, okay? And remember, 3K to get on stage and get recognized, right? Whether you're going to go to Cabo or not going to go to Cabo, what are you doing to make sure you're no longer a goose egg for the year? 1 week down, don't go 2 weeks as a goose egg. Find a way to get on the sales report and start to build progress, start to build momentum. You know, one of my missions this year is how do we get 5 representatives in the pilot to do over $50,000 this year? And when I think about that, it's nothing more than just 5 demos ahead and 10 calls a day. That's it. If the reps have that, they're going to be shipping about $1,000 a week, assuming that they never get better, but they're just consistent. They're going to sell 50 grand if they were at 0 this year, and they're going to make 22,000 bucks. There's not a lot of jobs you can work that part-time, right? You know, and still make that kind of money, right? And it's just amazing how just starting with something as simple as just a couple fundamentals can get you so far in a business like ours. So really wanted to echo that as we move forward. Sound cool? So again, thank you guys. What a great year 2019 was, and I can't wait to see what 2020 is going to be like. Many of you know the goals, but I think they're important to review. We're going after $3 million. We're trying to grow $1 million this year. That's 50% growth as a division. And in order to make that happen, we are going to need everybody on their game. We're going to need everybody at their best and really delivering the heat. So let's go ahead and talk about that, right? Some goals to write down to break down, to look at, and figure out how do you fit in. Ultimately, we all have influence over all these numbers, right? But what are the numbers that you're going to make the biggest impact with, right? So $3 million is a division. By the way, our record right now, corporate record for this area and this division was 2018. We did $2.34 million. So taking it up to $3 million will be our biggest and best year we've ever had. Sound good? In addition to that, right, we need to know that we've got to get $2 million from the pilot, and we've got to get $1 million from our 4 district managers and our 3 branch candidates, our 6 branches that are in addition to that, right? So we're gonna have an office count of in between 10 and 11 offices this year, and I'm really fired up about that as we move forward. So I did want to let you guys know I bought you a present. Many of you know about this already, but you're in Madrid shirts. So this year we went to Paris, right? France. It's going to be fun. Congratulations to Claire, who'll be going on that. But we are going to be going to Madrid, Spain next year, and everybody's going. It's going to be so much fun. I got your size. We don't have time to give it away right now, but I wanted to make sure you get it by the end of the meeting. For those of you that are not in person, I'll see you at your own banquet. Remind me, and I'll have your shirt for you. These are so comfy. They're long sleeve. They're awesome, and I'm fired up about that for sure. So that being said, what? Yeah, you can check it out for sure. So pretty cool, and you guys can see that. So I wanted to promote our people that will be getting a promotion this year, but I did want to promote Claire Beckman. So if you want to stand right now, she's going to be opening up her branch office and being promoted year-end banquet. So one clap for her. 1, 2, 3. We had Daniel Shawan, so out in the Tulsa area. And Daniel, if you want to stand in front of your computer, you're more than welcome. But being promoted as well to a branch manager. So one clap, 1, 2, 3. We have Ayame Palmer. Go ahead and stand up. And we were fired up about Ayame. She made the decision to take the risk and get promoted. So we are so pumped for her. She also took a very exciting territory. So we'll be talking about that year-end banquet. One clap, 1, 2, 3. All right, next up, we have Adam Goff, and all the way out in Fayetteville, but our Arkansas homie. So you're more than welcome to stand up as well with his big mop top. Excited to see you year-end banquet, sir, and be officially promoted to a branch manager. So one clap for him. 1, 2, 3. All right, very good. Next up, we also have, right, we have Clay Strand. So Clay, go ahead and bring it up right now out of the Tulsa area, getting promoted to a branch manager as well, and he will be at year-end banquet. So one clap for him. 1, 2, 3. All right, good. And then, of course, in addition to all of this, we have, I think I mentioned all of those. Yep. We have a couple that are on the fence. I'll let you guys know in a little bit, but I did want to do our biggest promotion. Kyle, I know we've talked about possibly running a branch, so you can join the ranks and be at the table. But I did want to recognize Brandon Cobb, currently the division office manager out of the pilot, but he will be recognized at year-end banquet for being promoted to district manager, a new father, new husband, and also in a position where he will be a brand new business owner as well, opening up his district and being added to the dean. So let's give all of our leaders a big round of applause. Thank you very much. And congratulations. Excited that this is on recording. It'll be on YouTube, and it'll be so fun to look back at when we're promoting 15 and 20 and beyond in the future years. And just remember, throughout our division, we have the potential to have 20 offices open at any given time, and we only have about 10 of those fulfilled. So we've got a lot of work to do as we fill all of our territories, and that's what's going to take us to 4 and 5 million and beyond, no doubt. Cool? So anyway, let's dive in. Content. Let's dive into teaching, right? It is currently, 4:20, and what we're going to dive into is the actual teaching part of today's meeting. So what I want you to write down is I want you to write down financial habits. I want you to write down financial habits. In your email, many of you have this document. I'm going to pull it up just so we can share it again. But this is the branch profitability document that has to do with the money that we give you plus the money that you'll make, and including the money that you'll spend. Running a branch, right? The only way to fail is to quit. But it takes money to make money. And what I want you guys to know when it comes to financial habits, right, is that your fixed office expenses on the lower or higher end are all in here, and we can build those in. Variable expenses can change based on your territory and your habits. Total estimated office expenses to run a business for the summer can be between 9 and 18 grand. Now, let's review. The company gives you $6,000, right? They also give you money for mailers that's not a part of that 6 grand, okay? Then in addition to that, we got to remember that the estimated business expenses, right, on the low end would still be $3,000. On the high end would be $12,000. Now, this is before any of the money you get paid to run your business. This is just the numbers that we can automatically assume. Personal management savings is recommended on the low end at around $3,000, on the high end around $6,000, right? And that is what we call your startup. So where are you at in startup right now? And you, at this point at year-end banquet, should be at $1,000 in startup minimum, right? But what's your game plan for the spring, and how are you going to build that? Any manager that's opened up an office before will tell you that they wish they would have had more money in savings. No doubt, 100%. I want you to write this down. This is true in the business. This is true in life. Cash is confidence. Cash is what? Confidence. It's confidence. And when you have cash, you have confidence to take a break and take time off. You have confidence to get back on the phone and keep working hard. You have confidence that the program works, confidence to make phone calls and go out there and sell Cutco, confidence to go to a concert, right? You get to be able to live a life that's based on what you want to do, not what you're forced to do. And one thing that I want is financial freedom in my life at all times, right? So I think about what cash can do. Common personal expenses, right? On the low end and on the high end, because that's not built into the business. So when you flip it over, let's not forget that you get a high commission rate when the reps are new. That's why what's your best friend as a manager? Recruiting. Because anytime you get new reps to be selling and hitting their first promotion, that is the most profitable time for you as a manager. Okay? Let's not forget that every rep you get to $1,000, you made $250. Every rep you get to their 3K promotion, you've made $650. So if you're getting a rep to their 3K promotion in their first 3 days, you made $650 to help them do that. Not including your monthly bonus, not including your recruiting bonus, not including your campaign bonus or your PACE bonus, your holiday bonus, your e-commerce bonus. By the way, yes, there's over 12 different bonuses you get as a DM, hashtag go DM. That being said, go DM, hashtag go DM. That's their debt. Like, yeah, branch is like the kiddie pool. So here's the deal, right? When we look at this, think about how much you make. Now, obviously, lower sales, right? Higher commissions. But when you break this down and you look at it, if your office does $100,000, you're getting 18 grand estimated on overrides. There's no way to get that specific number because who sells it, right, can change it a bit. But these would be estimates. $18,000 to run a $100,000 branch. You hit the company trip and you get to 150, you're making $25,000. And that's in addition to all the money that we already gave you, right? And of course, it gets bigger and better. Not to mention, let's not forget branches. At the end of the summer, for all of July, all of August, and all of September, we pay you direct 50% on anything you personally sell. No quota, no waiting for bonus. Here's direct 50. Sell 1,000, here's $500. Sell 4K, here's $2,000 cash. The only way to fail as a branch is to quit. So that being said, sell 10K, earn $5,000, and if you do it at the right time in August, you also get the kicker. Which means if you don't go to Madrid, Spain, it's because you chose not to go to Madrid, Spain. Sorry, but it's just the truth. So when I keep looking at this, let's talk about estimated projected branch profit. Office commissions. Well, you choose a number from the above chart. Plus $5,000 we give you, plus $6,000 from the company startup, right? Or sorry, that's what you sell. That's company startup, and then personal savings. I don't know, but even if this number was 0, which I doubt it would be, you still win. Are you guys with me on this? So I'm going to talk about this and then transition into what we're building for 2020 and beyond. But I want you guys thinking big. If you're a branch manager, please jot this down. I am not okay with you breaking down a branch plan that does any less than $150,000. I'm sorry, but I'm not. If you're thinking any less than $150,000 as a branch right now, you're not thinking the right way. Because you have 18 weeks in the summertime. And really, you want to guarantee that you hit the company trip. Here's what you need to work towards immediately. How quickly can you launch your first double-digit training class? How quickly can you get 10 plus people out in a week? And by the way, the answer to that is week 1. Let's not forget about Nick Smith, who recruited for all of April, built this training group, had 80 or 90 people set, 42 showed to day 1, and he launched 30 people, and they sold an average of $1,000 first weekend. Week 1 of the summer, when Nick Smith opened his branch, who won a Silver Cup and is now a division manager, his office did $30,000 in new. That means week 1 at his commission mark, he made $6,000 because he chose to take, right, the shot at running a branch office. That's what it means to start off the summer strong. 150 grand divided by 18 weeks. You're probably not working all those weeks, but don't forget you get paid off all the office sales that happen in August and September, even after you're done recruiting. Why would you not? And these are local kids. You might be flying away to go back to school, but they're not. What can you do to really step it up when it comes to that? $150,000 minimum, right? Because the reality is that if you just get committed to recruiting big for those 7 to 8 weeks and you can get 50 to 60 kids out the door and never recruit again, hey, what does it take to do 150 grand? Well, are you speaking big? Are you talking big? How many people can hit $10,000? You get 10 people to knock out 10K, which is less than 5 demos a week in the summer. That's 100 grand right there, not including all the other sales that your office is going to make. What happens if you get 1 kid to go after 30,000? What happens if you get 2 kids to ship 20,000? Right? And what happens if you get another 3 kids to ship another 10? Right there, that's $100,000 from your top 5 or 6. Are we thinking big enough? Consistent systems make the biggest difference. Make sense? So financial savings. This is the most important thing for your confidence right now. And for those of you that are a part of our Leadership Academy and you're assistant managers and you're not opening an office, fantastic. What is your relationship with money? So I'm going to give you 2 resources that I encourage you to look at. And I want to start to give you some advice on your finances, okay? The first piece of advice I have is you need to improve your relationship with money. Money is not the problem. Money is not good. Money is not bad. Money is just an object. Your relationship with money is what defines success or failure. And by the way, if you're broke right now, clearly that just shows that you have an issue in your relationship with what? Money. So how are you going to fix that? Well, you probably need to learn. You need to educate yourself. You need to become a student. I've got some resources for you. Number 1, I would highly recommend reading the book, The Total Money Makeover by Dave Ramsey. And I believe he's got a version of it, The Total Money Makeover for college kids. Just so that it relates to you. There are 7 baby steps to building financial wealth. He goes through it in his book. All the steps after step 4, you probably don't need right now because they're more about home ownership and long-term thinking. But I guarantee you that the first 3 or 4 are exactly what you need to start to make progress. If the book's not enough and you need accountability, here's another resource for you. Highly recommend going to something called Financial Peace University by Dave Ramsey. It's a free class that you can attend. There is a $100 booklet and sponsorship thing that you can buy. But I did not purchase it. I just said that I already had the book and they still allowed me to go to the class. It's 9 weeks to attend. They happen at a local church in your community, guaranteed. You can go to daveramsey.com. You can click on Financial Peace, put in your zip code, and it will tell you the dates of the class and the workshop. When I was in debt, yes, I was in debt, and I just didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I had no way out. That was the trigger for me. It was going to Financial Peace University. We did it at a church that had free kids sitting for an hour, 9 weeks in a row. And Timmy and I would sit there with the group. We never had to disclose any of our financial information. We didn't have to pay for it, but we did have a lot of fun. It's a very humorous class. It's got incredibly inspiring stories, and it talks about how it's okay to fumble. It's okay to trip. It's okay to make mistakes. What's not okay is to stop. You got to keep going. And without that class, I think I'd still be in debt. By the way, there's only 2 ways to have more money in life. Either make more or spend less. And this class is going to help you with both. If you've gone through it before, well, I got to remind you, knowledge is not power. The application of knowledge is. And if you've been through it before, but you're not doing those things, then you're really no better off than somebody who's never been through it before. So go through it again. In fact, if you've gone through it before, you have an opportunity to sponsor a class and get people coming to you. And I think that's a pretty cool thing. You guys with me on this? So take advantage, all right? No, and not advantage. I want you to write down, take ownership of your relationship with money. So we're going to take what? Ownership. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming your job with Vector. Stop blaming your parents or how you spend your cash. And the first step to figuring out your money is creating a monthly budget. Do you currently know how much your lifestyle costs? Because it's not your life, it's your lifestyle. Do you know how much your rent is? Do you know how much your car payment is? Do you know how much Wi-Fi costs? Do you know how much estimated you spend on gas? Do you know how much estimated you spend on groceries, on dining out, on entertainment, on travel, on subscriptions, on bad habits? They're all a part of money. Money doesn't need to be your motivator, but it's how you spend that money that might motivate you. I don't like to have to say no because I don't have the what. I would like to say no because I don't feel like it or it's not the right time, but never because I'm limited with my cash. So my encouragement to you is sit down and make an estimated budget. I'm so fired up for this week because I just had my last call with my rising stock person. They've categorized all my expenses, and within days, I will have an Excel file that has every dollar that my business and my family spent in 2019. Organized, strategized, and I will be able to look at it and say, wow, we spent blank amount on average on groceries. It was blank amount we spent on our mortgage, right? Which homeownership is great until you get to pay taxes. Just look at that. It was so much fun to see $4,000 go to the county last week. That was so good. All right. But here's the deal, right? You start to look at this and you start to understand. You start to take ownership of where your money's going. Everybody with me on this? It's so critical that you do, because if you don't, you're just going to continue to get the results you've been getting. Make sense? The next thing that I want to talk about when it comes to your finances, and I want to make sure that you're in a position where once you take ownership of it, you have weekly consistent habits. Weekly consistent what? Habits. And they need to be happening every week, guys. The best time to save was yesterday. The next best time is right now. So your relationship with money. There's a really good book out there that talks about pay yourself first. The person that needs to be paid first is you. And the person that you need to be paying is not your current self, it's your future self. If you would have saved just $20 a week from spending less last year, assuming you made no more money, you would have $1,000 saved right now. I don't think anybody's too broke to put in their weekly schedule to save $20. But if you're like me, I'm very consistently inconsistent. So I have to systematize things and I have to make them a requirement. Highly recommend doing this, by the way, but you can go online, search for something called immigrantdirect.com or ingdirect.com. They're money markets. They cost less than $20 or $50 to open. You can sync them to your bank. And you know what I did? When I was a brand new rep, I wasn't even in management yet. I learned about finances and I created an automatic withdrawal every Friday for $20. That's where I started it. Every Friday, $20 came out of my checking account, no matter what. And I set it for Friday because that's when direct deposit hits. Now, sometimes that stung because if I didn't work the previous week, I didn't make any money and $20 still went away. It's not about how much I was making, it's how much I was putting away. And then I got confident and I said, wow, I've increased my zero balance. So I'm going to make that $50. And I got to a point where it was $100 a week. I want you to do the math on this and you can even write it down. But if you can get yourself to a position where you start to save $100 a week, you're saving over $5,000 in the year of 2020. What does it feel like to be at this time next year with $5,000 saved? Are you with me on that? Here's another great tip that'll help you with your finances. Start a total tax withholding. Set it at 10%. Automatically, every paycheck, 10% of your earnings gets pulled out. It goes into withholding, and it just builds up and accumulates. I had a major issue with my taxes at one point. Then I got smart and created that total tax, and now I have more money saved every year than what I owe, and I don't have to worry about it anymore. So create that kind of system, create that kind of habit now. Does that make sense? Okay, here's another big one. Get to $1,000 in savings immediately. If you were a gazelle out on the safari plains and a lion or a tiger was chasing you, you would run like you know what. Why? Because your life depends on it. You need to get to $1,000 in emergency savings as if your life depended on it. Saying no to every bad habit, canceling all subscriptions, not doing social media unless it's business related until you've got that $1,000 in. Because once you do, cash is confidence. All of a sudden, the things that were roadblocks in the past are only going to be speed bumps for your future. Does that make sense? Or potholes, as many of you know. So, inside joke there, right? So there's my point, right? We need to make sure we maximize this, right? So make your monthly budget, start a consistent $20 automatic withdrawal that you can't change, right? And make sure you get to $1,000 emergency account ASAP. Let me give you something that you should start to think about, and that is to open up a Roth IRA. It's a tax-free withholding and a tax-free retirement account. And you know what? You can contribute up to $6,000 per tax year. And the taxes are not due this year until April 15th, like every year, which means you have until April 15th to contribute $6,000 or up to that for the tax year of 2019. So you could literally be in a position and not have a retirement account right now. You don't even have one open, and you could find one, you could open it, and you can max it out to $6,000 by April 15th for the tax year of 2019. And then over the course of the next 8 months, do it again to max it out. It means this time next year, you have $12,000 in a retirement account. At a 10% return, you're in a really good spot. I don't have the math or the exact science, and I'm not a financial planner, but let me just have you write this down. $5,000 a year for 10 years. $5,000 a year for 10 years. And an estimated 10% total return on investment, and an estimate, right, that you never touch the money until your retirement is matured at 60 or 65 years old, yes? You'll only have invested $50,000, $5,000 a year for 10 years. That $50,000, because it gets to grow tax-free for over 30 years, will equal an estimate of $2.2 million in retirement. By the way, if you don't start saving until you're 30 years old, and you save $5,000 a year every year from when you're 30 till you're 60, $5,000 a year for 30 years, $150,000, you'll have invested 3 times more, and your retirement will only be totaled at $1.8 million. The difference of two-thirds less invested and an extra 10 years means the difference of $400,000 in retirement. Got me? Start now. Cool? I can't stress this enough. That being said, guys, I want to tell you that it's very important that you understand your future life depends on it. Security of your family and your well-being, leadership, responsibility, drive, and trust. My mentality on life: work hard while you're young so you don't have to work for the rest of your life. Or you can play hard when you're young and you'll get the opportunity to work for the rest of your life. Hard work now, fun times later. Fun times now, hard work forever. Which do you choose? I would rather bust my butt when I'm in my 20s. Make sense? Put in the work. Find a way. Say no to the things that aren't worth it, and improve your relationship with Financial Peace University and with money. Sound good? So here's a list of assignments for everybody on here. Oh, my first assignment, I would go to mint.com. It's a very powerful website. It has an app. It is free. It is secure. It is done by the guys of Intuit. Those are the ones who own TurboTax. Those are the ones who own like PayPal. Like, these guys know their stuff when it comes to money, and it's completely free. By the way, mint.com, if you create an account, it'll ask for your social. It automatically gives you an updated credit score for free every 30 days. It automatically tells you all of your money that you're spending, and it categorizes it for you, and then you can go in there and make adjustments. It automatically gives you ways to set budgets and goals, and it sends you emails and text messages when you've gone over those budgets at any point. It will tell you everything that I just talked about, and it will help you start to invest and save. Number 2, I want you to set a goal to have by May 1st. May 1st of 2020. How much money do you want to have in personal savings, and how much money do you want to have in business savings? My advice to you would be to figure out your monthly budget and have that much money in personal startup for all 3 months of the summer. That way, all your personal bills are covered based on your monthly budget. And you don't have to worry about any of the money you make from Cutco and Vector to be covering those expenses. I would make a monthly budget, as I mentioned earlier, and then break down the sales needed this spring in order to produce the income required for your savings. I'd like our division to be known for being a wealthy division. I'd like our division to be known for being financially savvy. I'd like our division to be known for helping young entrepreneurs get to $1,000 in emergency savings faster than any other job out there. I'd like to know that our average assistant manager has $1,000 in startup before they even make a decision to go branch or district. I'd like to know that you can pay for all of your conferences without ever selling a thing just because of the money you have in savings. And if you're on AM pay right now and you're getting that paid out to you, talk to your manager about changing it. I can't force anything, but I am a firm believer that the reason you become a manager is for the experience, and the money that you get off of AM pay should be forced savings for your future, even if you never run an office. Does that sound good? I'd like all of you to text me and let me know how much you want to have saved by May 1st. The chances of you doing that later are low, so I'm prepared for my phone to blow up, but please bust it out and either text me how much you'd like to have saved by May 1st so that I can help you accomplish and reach that goal, or text me right now and say, I'm not sure yet, but I'll get it to you by tonight. And then don't forget, set an alarm and get it to me by tonight. By the way, veterans, current managers, you're included in this. And you know what? You can have money saved even if you have debt. In fact, the first step to getting out of debt is not paying your debt. The first step to getting out of debt is, guess what? Saving $1,000. Because if you don't have $1,000 for emergencies, when they occur, all the hard work you did to pay down your debt goes away. Make sense? So how quickly can you get $1,000 in emergency savings? That's step one. Step two then becomes the debt snowball, okay? And paying off your debt, smallest to largest, but making sure that once you pay off a debt, the money you would make to pay off that debt goes into paying the next debt, so you're paying down your future debts faster. And step three is having $3,000 to $6,000 in emergency savings. Or sorry, not 3 to 6,000, 3 to 6 months of emergency savings. So if your monthly budget is $2,000, you should have anywhere between $6,000 and $12,000 in the savings account. How great does it feel knowing that even if you got injured, even if you were in between jobs or got fired, right? Because that happens all the time here at Vector, okay? Or total your car, you're in a position where you could literally not work for the next 3 to 6 months and all of that would be paid off. I hope you're thinking big. Sound fair? All right. So if you have any questions, let me know. By the way, I'm definitely not a total pro when it comes to financial guru stuff, but I can tell you a lot about the habits that I had in my 20s that helped me out. And here's one last tip. Go to your parents and talk to them about creating a retirement account. My first Roth IRA, I did not set up through Vector, although you can. I set it up through my federal credit union. And I went to my mom and dad 4 months into working for Vector after hearing a financial message similar to this. And they said, what do you want for your birthday? And I said, I'd like you to match whatever I put into my retirement account. They said, what do you mean? I said, I'm really eager. I've got an extra 500 and I'd like to start my first retirement account. I heard about the math. I heard about my retirement and how much I can make if I start it early. I've got $500 to put in. I'm not expecting that you guys have 500 either, but I would be willing to take that over a gift for my birthday this year. And my parents talked about it and they gave me $500. They matched it. That's the biggest gift I've ever had for my birthday. But when they knew what the $500 would do in a retirement account by the time I was 65, right? It was worth it for them. And I was amazed that they were willing to do that. Does that make sense? You have until April 15th. You'd be surprised. And your parents are much more financially savvy than you. Even if you don't think they are, they've had a lot more life experience. So naturally, they are going to be more financially savvy. You with me on that? So take advantage of it. All right, let's transition. Professional development. Professional development. I want to talk a little bit about this. I want you to write down go from comfortable to confident this spring. Go from comfortable to confident this spring. I have a document that I'm going to share, and you guys can all take one of these and pass it around right here that are in person. And this is the spring campaign preparation list. Some of the items on this list, okay, have already been Some of the items on this list have already been changed a little bit, so you might cross them off. But what we did back in 2017 is we made a checklist. And when I say me, I mean myself, Kevin Barth, Drew Frank. And we said, what are the things that need to be accomplished to be a successful manager in opening up this upcoming summer? And this is what we came up with. So I wanted to share this with you guys. For those of you on Zoom, let me go ahead and share the screen, and you guys can check this out. By the way, all of you have this in your emails, or at least you should, as we move forward and as we go through this. So let's go ahead and read over this. It says spring campaign preparation, Great Plains, Rocky Mountain, and Rising Sun. In January, what should we be shooting for? Well, January program sales, 10K push equals a trip winner. I would write next to that even if you don't sell 10K for the push, can you sell 10K for the month? What does it feel like to start off your year with anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 in income? And if it's not going to happen for the push, at least let it happen for the month. Year in Banquet, official promotion, right? So you can check that off. And those of you who are not getting promoted year in Banquet, you are doing yourself the best favor by going. You see the bigger picture of the company and what's possible in our corporation. At this point, you should have your pre and post part of the interview memorized. It should be approved by your district manager or your DVM. And if you have yet to record your interview, make it happen, upload it to YouTube, and share the link. It's so critical. And by the way, the best way to learn is to have feedback. But the feedback that you need is watching yourself. It's not about other people seeing you and their feedback. It's about you watching yourself and saying, that's what I sound like, that's what I said, geez, I need to clean it up. But if you want to get better, record yourself and watch the recording. Begin office searching. Compile a list of available leasing numbers and spaces. You could possibly go to your office, right? Search Craigslist, contact commercial realtors, and you can use the approach. We'll be covering this later on in early February as you start to look. I have never, in over a decade of being a manager, gone to a territory that we could not find an office. Never once. We will find offices in all of your territories. It's impossible not to. Make sense? Cool. The last one here is sign up for Vector 100 Zero training and Facebook Jumpstart training. We changed Vector 100 Zero, by the way, to the Branch Impact. So I already shared the link, sign up for that. And of course, get on the Facebook Jumpstart and start to take advantage of it as well. Cool. Let's talk about February. We look at Google phone number. That's optional these days, but it's pretty cool. Locate your local police station and submit contact info on the opening form. Why do we do that? Because every now and then that stupid, illegal scam thing resurfaces, and we want to make sure we're prepared in case it does. We had that issue back at our other office. We notified the police before it even came up. It was already on their books 3 months ahead. So when they got the call, they looked on the books and they're like, oh, that's not accurate, right? And they already were prepared. It was awesome. You should begin your territory research. Lots of things, compiling a list of schools, right? Entering grad dates, right? Getting on a campus documents. But for those of you that this doesn't make sense, a lot of it will be covered when you're in Banquet. Looking at popular hotspots where people hang out, and of course, making sure you order all of the proper documents so you can go to your schools when you visit. Continue office searching, right? Drive your territory. Make a list of 5 possible office spaces, right? Get AMs and old reps confirmed and signed up. We're going to start boot camps, division-wide AM boot camps to teach all the ins and outs of being an AM and also do consistent recognition. Those are going to be weekly, so you'll see a lot more consistency with my influence there. Also, start collecting office supplies, right? And building up all of the things you need to officially open up. I'm not going to go into detail with the March stuff, right, and the April stuff, but there's a lot of things on there as well. And then, of course, jumping into the first week of May. Some of this makes sense. Some of it's a little bit outdated. But guys, no matter what, I hope that you're seeing the value from it and that you're looking forward to that for sure. Those of you that are AMs, you should be looking at this checklist as well and acting as if you're a branch manager, right? And saying, hey, what can I do to serve? What can I do to help? And what can I do to accomplish these types of things for sure? Cool. So a few more things you want to write down in your notes that I would highly recommend focusing on. When it comes to skills preparation for the spring, here's what needs to be in every weekly calendar. Number 1, social media. What are you doing to build your social media department? Those of you that are local AMs, 55.5, which means you're sending out 50 messages every week. Those of you who are non-local, right? You could still do that and get people to go to the local office, or you could also start building your Facebook network. Second thing is, how good are you at your PR program? Full understanding of how to collect names, full understanding of how to manage duplicates and send a conveyor, full understanding of how to follow up with lost texts and interview no-shows, right? And to get people booked, okay? Full understanding of how to do things like steroid interviews, right? And the law of averages with the numbers. I was looking at Brandon today. Last year in the spring, we only launched 27 PRs. Brandon and I broke it down. If we're just doing our thing of booking 50 a week, we'll launch a total of 65 this spring, and we'll launch over 100 total in the spring campaign. It's gonna be fun. Next thing you should write down is interviews, right? What does it take to run a top office? Well, you gotta be good at the interview. How good are you at your pre, your post, your group? How good are you at sharing vision, getting people tied in? Are you ready for that? Next one is training. Do you have a high level of understanding about training? Running training, proctoring training. Have you watched the new recorded videos with Drew? Do you know the pressure points? Do you know when to pause and when to share and when to just let it play? Today, what we're talking about is advanced training series, right? AT1, AT2, AT3, and getting people on board long-term. And the last thing is campus. High school campuses, college campuses. We got to remember that our 18-year-olds that are their high school senior year, half of them are 18 now, right? So what are we doing to attract and build relationships with them? And with the timing of our training, we've moved that back too. Okay? I also want you to think about on a professional side, those are all the things to get prepared, but what are all the things that you need to improve your skills with? What do I mean by that? Well, how about hitting some milestones? What promotions do you want to achieve before summer? What percentage do you want to be at? Skills, sales, and savings, baby, right? What are your rankings going to be on that? Another thing is your schedule. Do you have a consistent spring schedule for yourself around your classes? Do you know when you're going to the office? Do you know what activities you need to be putting time into to be prepared to open up? I also want you to think about accountability. If last fall didn't go well, what held you back? And typically it's a lack of accountability is the biggest reason. Involvement, how involved are you in the program in your local office? How involved are you by showing up to events? By the way, you don't need to be on AMPay to join my staff meeting. At any time, if you want to learn how to run a great staff meeting, just ask. You're more than welcome to Zoom in and listen. If you want to get better at running a PC, awesome. Talk to your manager and say, hey, when's your next day 4 PC? When's your next day 11 PC? When's your next Napkin Talk PC? Great, can I watch it? Right? But take ownership and stop waiting for those things to come to you. And of course, the last big one, guys, is tracking your stats. Having awareness, knowing where you're at, and knowing where you ought to be. Are you ahead? Are you behind? Are you break even? But awareness is 80% of the battle. Cool? All right. Very good. Other than that, I've covered a lot of stuff. I hope that you guys are ready for that and you're ready to go forward. I just want to remind you of some of the assignments. Sales leadership is very important right now. Effort, energy, culture. We need to make sure we're recruiting from our 3 growth sources, social media, PRs, and of course, our campus, right? If you have not run a training yet, talk to your manager, talk to a local office. When can I run a training seminar? And for our best people, you should have run at least 2 training seminars recently. By the way, veterans in the room, I've run a lot of trainings. Great. Have you done any recently? Because again, you've got to make sure you knock off that rust, right? So pick a week, let's figure it out. When can you run a full cycle? Okay. Also, team building, getting 3 buddies on the team, right? And making sure you talk to your family to set expectations realistically as we go into the summer. All right. Good. Before I dive into our topic of AT1, I want to spend the last few minutes right now on recording talking about a program that we're all familiar with, but none of us are doing a very good job executing. We hit very heavy for about 20 minutes earlier today with our with our DM staff meeting, and it is called the Triple Threat. So please jot down Triple Threat. Please think about the power of this program if we do it right. All right. So what is Triple Threat? Triple Threat is an expectation. Triple Threat is a standard. Triple Threat is a program, and Triple Threat is a requirement. If you're on AMPay, it is absolutely crucial that you are working towards 3 fundamental things. Number 1, selling 10K and hitting Dirty 30 every campaign. District managers, it is important that you get to 7 on staff, and branch managers, how quickly can you get to 4 on pay? And if you don't do it before you open, can you do it in your first week? David Romero will be winning a silver cup at the year-end banquet. And David Romero launched 7 people from his very first training class as a new DM, and before they launched, promoted all 7 to assistant manager. It's never too early to promote somebody. Does that make sense? So take a minute and make a commitment. Cool? So the power of this program, 7 people selling $10K every campaign, $70,000 minimum, times 3 campaigns, it's a $210,000 program. Times 5 offices open year round, it's $1 million. It's $1 million. By the way, branch managers getting 4 people to hit Dirty 30 times 6 branches that we're going to have, right? Well, 40 grand times 6 offices, that's another $240,000. And honestly, that buys us all of our development for 2021 and beyond. Cool? The second part of this is Triple Threat is booking 50 PRs in a campaign. So what does it take to book 50 PRs in a campaign? Well, as an AM, you should be sending 50 messages, booking 5 PRs, and having 5 demos ahead at all times. But the reality is that if you're just booking 5 a week for 15 weeks, you're actually booking 75, not 50. And let me talk about the power of that. At a 10-to-1 ratio, that means 5 people throughout that campaign will start because of your efforts. By the way, multiply that 5 times 7 AMs doing this, that's 35 extra recruits that we're getting per campaign, which is going to equate to about 100 extra recruits per office, times 5 offices open year round, and that means that we are adding an extra 500 recruits as a division. And the last big one is getting 3 or more of your friends on the team. I want to know who's going to win a Silver Cup this year, even if you're not opening an office, because once you get 3 friends on the team, you're eligible and qualified now for the National Silver Cup. And now you can go after winning a Team Builder Silver Cup by your sales and the totals of all the people that you got on the team sales as well. And that is an annual contest. If we do this right, this is the difference of make or break with $1 million in growth towards 3 million and beyond this year. But it's going to take the efforts of everybody being consistent, following up, and prioritizing those 3 fundamental things. Step 1 is get the people on pay. Step 2 is to make sure they get the activities in their schedule so that they're getting those things done. Does that sound good? Sweet. So I'm counting on everybody on this group meeting right now to level up with their triple threat. If you're an assistant manager and this is your first one, here's your call to action. If you're a veteran and you've never done triple threat yourself, here's your call to action. By the way, if you're a current district manager and you're not getting the results you want to right now through recruiting in your current team, hey, could you hit triple threat yourself, right? And what if you did? You know, what would that do for leadership? What would that do for influence? And what kind of difference would that make? Cool? So I'm going to go ahead and pause real quick before we dive into our teaching topic. But are there any questions, any comments, any feedback or anything like that that somebody wants to share before we dive in? All right. I kind of skipped over year-end banquet. We'll talk about promotion later on that. But again, get signed up and sell your shares, okay? And make sure you have a ride down there for carpooling. Cool. All right. Well, let's dive in. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is advanced training. And this is one of my favorite topics. Advanced training, Dirty 30 development, fast start management, right? And helping your people grow. Here's the deal. When I think about what we're doing right now in our division, we are getting better at recruiting quality people, and we have always been good at recruiting. Our issue is that we have yet to really get our productivity down. And the number one thing that drives productivity is driving demos. Fast start sales build productivity, retention multiplies it. Does that make sense? So if you're learning anything about this, let me explain a metric to you from Drew Frank. He talks about the doubling metric. Whatever a representative sells in their first 3 days on the job, double that, and that's typically what they're going to sell for their fast start. By the way, whatever a rep sells for their fast start with good retention, double that, and that's typically what they'll sell for their first campaign. You've heard me say this before, but I will not accept somebody for training unless I can see 2 things would be true. Number 1, this individual is capable of completing 7 demos and selling $1,000 in their first 3 days. Whether or not they do that, that's another story. but do I see this person being well connected enough to be able to complete 7 quality Mac demos and sell $1,000 bucks? If I see that potential, I'll give them the job. The second component that I look for is if this person were to do 5 demos a week over the course of the campaign, could I see this person hitting Dirty 30? Which means mentally for me, every single time I run an interview and I run a post, I'm looking at this person and in my head asking myself, can they ship $1,000 bucks in their first 3 days? And could I see them hitting Dirty 30 if they did 5 demos a week? If the answer to that is yes, I'm going to accept them for my training. That being said, if that's my expectation for them before they even go through training, then why would my conversation after training ever change? You guys with me on this? We need to get back to having a newsletter culture. We need to get back to driving more attendance and driving more people to hit these numbers and building their goals. So here's my challenge to you, right? As we go through the Advanced Training 1 packet, I want you to ask yourself, what are your fast start expectations? I want you to write that down. What are your fast start expectations? And where does a big fast start come from? We can go into the Advanced Training series. We can talk about conversations and PDI. But veteran managers, I'm specifically talking to you guys right now because as a division for the fall campaign, we were number 42 when it comes to new recruit productivity, which is the average sold per rep, out of 46 nationwide. We were in the bottom 5 nationwide as a division. 1 year ago, we were just outside the top 10. It doesn't make sense that we've had more time to learn and to improve our skills, yet our results have gone drastically down. So where does first weekend pop come from? Because I was telling Brandon this, right? If you know that the doubling metric is in effect, the difference of getting the average first weekend pop from 200 to something like 500 is the difference from your average fast start pop being 400 versus 1,000, which means your average overall productivity for the campaign would be the difference from 800 all the way up to what? 2,000. And when you multiply that times 50 reps, think about it. If your overall productivity for the summer is $1,000 bucks times 50, guys, what's happening? You're selling 50 grand. If your average productivity though, right, is 2,000 with the same amount of work, you now are having way more fun selling double the amount of business and making way more money. So how good are you at increasing productivity? And productivity comes from making sure that you focus on 3-star top 20% recruits, right? Just like an average order. I was talking to Kyle about this. How do you build a great average order? 1 good set a week. 1 good set a week off, right? Off weighs all of the other smaller starter set pieces, right? Sales, and it comes out to a decent number. Okay, so what does it take? It takes 1 good rep a week. Here's some intentions that I have from every training class I run. Are you ready? Number 1 intention. I have the intention that everybody shows up with 50 names and numbers to training. Everything we've done up until this point has set that as an example. Hey, DJ, we expect, if you want to take care of that, Brandon, we expect that everybody on our team shows up to training with 50 plus names and numbers on their list. That way, everything we do in training is just additions and additive. My second expectation is that people leave training with 10 demos booked. Why? Because I know that if they have 10 demos booked and they complete 7, the 7 that they complete will get them to what? First promotion. And if they get to their first promotion, they're less likely to quit. My next expectation is that by advanced training, these individuals have hit their first sale, their first set sale, and their first promotion. By the way, getting people to show back up to advanced training is 10 times easier when they've made their first sale, their first set sale, and they've hit their first promotion. Okay, what are my other expectations? I expect, and I set these expectations early on, that they always have how many demos ahead of them? 5 ahead, and that they're shooting for 3,500 to win the homemaker. I specifically say that in training. Guys, my goals is that all of you hit your first promotion and make no less than $100 by Monday, and that all of you are able to win the $3,500 level, hit 2 promotions, and get a 100% raise. Because if a representative, even part-time, makes $500 in income, they win $1,000 worth of free Cutco, right? And they hit 2 promotions with a 100% raise, I don't think they're quitting anytime soon. How do you get somebody to $3,000 or $3,500? 2 demos a day. So I would write that down, is what is your daily expectation? Non-summer, it's different than the summertime. But guys, I have to remind you that 2 a day is okay. 3 a day is good. 4 a day is great. And 5 a day is the champion's way. We don't even talk about 1 because how can you say you're working if you did 1 demo? That's a hobby, not a job. You with me on this? It doesn't have to be like this forever, but definitely for your fast start. Cool? And beyond that, I expect that my representatives are hitting the newsletter every week. And just so we're clear, this might scare some people away. They might not be on board with it, and I'm okay with that. The right people are going to eat this up. The wrong people are going to leave. And you know what? Part of being a manager and a leader is accepting that this program's not right for everybody. So run it for the right people. Run it for the right people. Don't try to cater your program. And I've made this mistake so many times where I'm running a training class, right? And there's one person who's a little bit slow and it's slowing down the rest of the average. I run training for my average rep. And I believe wholeheartedly that an average 2-star rep can get 50 people on their list. They can book 10 demos before they leave. They can complete 7 their first weekend, sell $1,000 and complete 2 a day for their first 10 days. And if you're doing that, you're helping your people hit some super sweet numbers. My own personal expectations, I also expect that people are hitting 3K, at least one person, a rabbit every week. I expect that I'm trying to get somebody to knock out $6,000 to $10,000 in their fast start as well. And I'm driving these types of results, and this is where my conversations are coming from. Does that sound good? So let's transition into the advanced training series. Let's transition into fast start management. Your number 1 job in your fast start is 2 things. Number 1, manage their emotions. And number 2, control their activities. So number 1, manage their emotions. Number 2, control their activities. It is crucial that when you're in your fast start management, you're talking to these people every day before 10 a.m. You might not talk to your whole team before 10 a.m. that day, but for your fast start group, you better believe it. Doesn't matter what day it is. There's no days off as an entrepreneur, right? You run a branch this summer, you're contracted for 100 days, you're working all those days. Doesn't mean you're in the office all the time, but man, you're working. So putting in the time in your schedule to have those conversations, right? Making sure you make a difference and you influence them early in the morning, right? So again, what are we doing? Managing emotions and controlling their activities and actions, okay? Another thing that you can write down is that everything gets fixed in advanced training. I am a firm believer that you need to set an expectation from the very beginning of opening comments and training that they need to show up to advanced training. I'm also a firm believer that you need to make sure that you talk about advanced training at least 3 times on both days. My story is the following. My first weekend, it took me 3 demos to make my first set sale. But I sold my first set the first time I put Cutco in front of a MAC client. They were married, they were over 30, they owned a house, and I sold a set. Prior to that, I hadn't shown a MAC client. No wonder I didn't sell. Once I made my first sale, every demo after that got easier, and I made another sale. But they weren't big. I was feeling like quitting. I had barely sold $1,000. But my manager said, hey, you got to be advanced training 1. Now, I lived a 45-minute drive from my office. I didn't want to go in, but I chose to. And when I did, I learned the secret weapon. I learned how to give more free stuff. I learned, and by the way, you should be having your own story, right? But I learned how to get better at the demo. I learned how to relax. I reminded myself reading, cutting, and smiling actually worked. And the day after, I had 5 demos, I had 4 sales, and I sold 3 Homemaker Plus 8s for over $3,000. I literally made $500 in a day. And I went from $1,000 to $4,000. And the moment that happened, that's where everything changed. That's where I got committed because my initial goal for my fast start guys was only $3,500 to win the Homemaker. I had knocked that out. So then I had to think bigger. And that's where I decided to go after the 10K fast start. That's where I started getting turned on to eating, breathing, sleeping, living, dreaming Cutco. That's where I was in my office every morning at 8 a.m. And I would do a 10 o'clock, a 12, a 2, a 4, a 6, and an 8. Doing an average of 6 demos a day every day for the next 7 days. But that's where it all changed. That's where I turned on. Does that make sense? So are you telling stories? Are you getting people bought in? When representatives are making mistakes in their first weekend and they're not getting good results, laugh it off. All you taught them how to do in training was to show Cutco. Now you're going to teach them how to sell Cutco when they come to advanced training. But how intense are we about training confirmation calls and making sure people are showing up? My question to you is, are you doing advanced training confirmation calls? And if you're not, why not? In fact, I prefer running advanced training over running training. In fact, I think that people learn more during advanced training than they learn in training. But they can't get advanced training until they've had the initial training to set the foundations. Make sense? The people that are still here out of our first training group that are doing well are all the ones that showed up to AT1, AT2, and AT3. In fact, do that check with yourself right now. When you were a brand new rep, right? Did you show up to your advanced training one? I bet you the majority of you would say yes. And because you did, look at where you're at now. Not taking anything away, not saying you're a good person. I'm just saying that, hey guys, you show up and you get success. What if the difference between somebody sticking around for a year and not is you fighting their objection and getting them to show up to advanced training? If you knew that was the one thing that was going to make or break their career with us, would you be a little bit more intentional? Would you focus on handling objections? Would you fight for that individual every time? I think so. Check yourself. Did you go to your AT2? Did you go to your AT3? Because I didn't miss one advanced training. And I bet you that if I look back in my fast start and I would have missed one of those advanced trainings, I wouldn't have done as well. I might still be around, but I don't think I would have done as well. So is there a culture that's expected to show up to advanced training? And do you know why it works so well? Because it's forced accountability. It forces them to come in and get outside their head and back into action. It forces them to get back on the what? It forces them to have a required accountability to check them every couple of days in their fast start to make sure they have at least how many demos ahead. And if they complete 5 between training and advanced training 1, there's 5 demos. If they complete 5 more between AT1 and AT2, now we're at 10 demos. If they can get 5 more done between AT2 and AT3, now we're at 15, and 5 more before they finish their official fast start, not including bonus days, 20 demos. An average of 2 a day, 20 demos completed. Talk to anybody that completed 20 demos in their fast start, and it's unlikely that they shipped any less than $3,000. And for some of our kids, they're shipping more like 6. For some of our kids, if you get the right kid bought into the vision, they're shipping 10. And we already talked about finances, but are you ready for this number? Every rep you get to hit $10,000, whether it's in their fast start or not, you're making over $1,650 as a manager. If you can find a way to build a championship organization around big fast start pop, and you can get 1 kid a week to hit the 10K fast start goal, you're making $1,600 off that 1 kid weekly. Now, again, I hope we're not in it for the income, right? We're in it for the outcome, the experience, and everything like that. But we're not worried about money anymore when we build a good fast start program. By the way, our people are so much more resilient when they get off to a strong start. I was talking to Kyle about that today. Kyle's had some challenges recently, but I'm so glad that his first night he sold a homemaker. So glad that he's hit his first promotion, because without that confidence boost, I don't know if he'd still be as involved. He probably would be, because he's got great personality and character traits, but there's always that question, what if? You guys with me on this? Nothing's more important. So I want to share something with you. Did you know out of the 900,000 that we shipped in new business last year, 80% of it came from people in their fast start?
Wow.
I'm going to share that again. 80% of the new business that we produced last year as a division came from kids that were in their first 10 days on the job. Are you ready for another statistic? 80% of that amount of business in new business came from kids in their first what? 3 days, their first weekend. 80%. So if that's the case, my question to you is 80% of your effort, your intensity, and your engagement going into people in their first weekend and their fast start? Is 80% of your time going into doing PDI with them, making sure that they get their day 4 PC, making sure that there's a system that if they didn't show up to advanced training 1, you get them to make up for it within the next 24 hours? Make sense? And if you're doing these things, don't worry about getting people to Dirty 30. Don't worry about getting them to conferences or them showing up to team meetings. Don't worry about them, right, being able to stick around or be interested in branch or district. All of those things happen as a byproduct because they got off to good start and they made good money right away. What other jobs, by the way, can you work part-time at and make $500 in your first couple of weeks? Not a lot. Not a lot. And more often than not, people that start this job, they really are just looking for part-time cash, aren't they? Yeah. More often than not. I'm not saying that in the summer you don't have the ones that are going full-time and making a ton of cash, but man, more often than not, people are looking for part-time flexible work. That's what we offer. I just talked to Shayla Way, who's a division manager up in Canada. You know, she told me she was the #1 recruiter, by the way, last year. She does not run a JAN program, but her office launched over 400 reps in 2019. She was the only manager in North America that even was over 400. It's the second year in a row that she's #1 in recruiting. She also did $800,000 in new business. And when she gave her message, you know what she told us? She said that she has 67 active reps with sample kits in her office right now, and they don't even run a JAN program. She takes her top 20, her pilot manager takes the next 20, and the other 30 are managed by all the other AMs, because every AM has 3 to 4 people that they coach and manage, and the people that they coach and manage are all part-time people that are only doing 2 to 3 demos a week. But you know what? When you have 30 people averaging 3 demos a week, that's 90 demos a week and an extra $9,000 a week. How's that multiply over 50 weeks? Well, that's the difference of her doing 600 versus 800. Is it okay for a representative to be on our team and do only 2 to 3 demos a week after their fast start? Absolutely. Should we invite that? Yes. And should we talk about how if they're going to only do 2 to 3 demos a week, they should make sure that those are good and best 5 2 to 3 demos? For sure. Because if the average rep is doing 2 to 3 demos a week that's on that side, and they're shipping an extra $200 to $300 or $500, what's one extra order times 30 reps? It's a lot of business, isn't it? It's a lot of business. How do you think? In fact, last year as a division, we launched 800 people. Are you ready for this number? 800 times $300, because that's our division average order. If we would have just found a way for every rep to get one more order before they quit, before they left the business, one order on average per rep, who wants to do the math on that? I know it, but what's 300 times 800?
240,000.
Thank you. $250,000. And you know what? That means that we would have been within less than 5% of our yearly total last year with no extra effort, no extra recruits, no extra anything. Plus, what would that have done to our PPR? What would that have done to our average order? So I'm going to talk about what you should cover in Advanced Training 1. I'm going to talk about how to deliver a fire Advanced Training 1. But if you don't understand why it's important, it don't matter. The #1 thing that we have an issue with right now is productivity, our average PPR. And I hate saying this on recording, but it's true. Last year, in 2019, divisionally, over 40% of the 800 people we launched never made a sale. Who wants to do the math on that?
How many people?
We launched just over 800. What's 40% of 800? It's over 300 people that trusted us as a management team to go through an interview, to come back in against probably their family's wishes, to sit through 2 days of unpaid training, to then go out there and never sell anything. That's irresponsible on our part. And it shouldn't be acceptable either. If we worked for a corporation, I guarantee you that some of us would either be reprimanded or fired. Make sense? We cannot afford to continue to do that because that means there are over 300 people that left training, never made a sale, and now when one of their friends gets interviewed or recruited by us and they talk to that person that's tried the Vector opportunity, what's that conversation going to sound like? We might be able to survive 1 year like that, but if this continues, what is going to be the brand after you're long and gone from Vector marketing in our community and in the state of Oklahoma? Is it going to be a positive one, or will it be not so good? It is your responsibility to take 100% ownership of every single person in your organization, and there are zero excuses not to. Are you guys with me on this? I'm sorry this is sounding like a lecture, but it irritates the heck out of me that we have the #1 student program and 40% of our students are failing. It's one thing if a rep doesn't hit their first sale on their first weekend or their first promotion. It's another thing that they never even make a sale. Guys, we have things that cost 20 bucks. Come on. The other thing that builds our productivity is getting higher quality recruits and making sure that we capitalize on those higher quality recruits. In other words, what do I mean by that? When you got a 3-star recruit, what's your expectation for that? If a 1-star recruit should at least be hitting half of their first promotion and making their first sale, and a 2-star recruit should be selling $1,000 and knocking out 2 demos a day on average for their fast start at 3,500, what's a 3-star recruit expected to do? If you got a 3-star recruit in front of you, that person should be thinking about going after 3K in their first weekend and 6,000 to 10,000 in their fast start. And if every week, every office is getting 1 kid to do that, can you imagine what difference that makes in our overall productivity? What a difference that makes in our leadership group? How many more people are hitting SLDM and being a part of that? Make sense? It's our responsibility. And we need to raise our standards. So let's jump in on how to drive a great advanced training one. As a reminder, by the way, in the fast start, here's how you manage it. And here's how you get people to hit Dirty 30. Okay? Fast start management works like this. Book 2, do 2. Book 3, do 3. Book 4, do 4. But how often are you saying that phrase? How often are you reciting that to your people? How often are you getting them bought into that, right? I hope some of you are focused. All right. So here's the deal, right? Do 2, book 2, do 3, book 3, do 4, book 4, every single day. We need to get in the habit where no reps are doing only 1 demo a day. We need to get in the habit where in fast start, we are expected, right, to talk about 2 is okay, 3 is good, 4 is great, and 5 is a champion's way. 5 before and 5 after. And always having awareness on how many demos they have ahead. In fact, if I could rewrite software for WebPDI, you know what I'd rather WebPDI tell me? How many demos they have ahead. That's what I'd rather care about. Like a little tracker at the end. And I would like it to organize it for me that anybody below the threshold of 5 ahead is in red. And there's like alarms and bells going off that annoy the heck out of me until I fix that. Does that make sense? Because if you don't get a big team as a branch this summer, let's say you only build a team that's a total at its biggest of 15 active reps, but your reps all have how many demos ahead? That's 75 demos, not including your training class. That's a $7,500 week plus your first week in pop. There's your 10K week, yes? It doesn't, like nothing else matters. And we can't control the results of the demos, guys. All we can control, right, is driving those demos and trusting that the reps are going to read, cut, and smile. And if we do that, man, what an exciting thing to have happen. So I'm going to dive into teaching you this. I'm going to dive into the actual nuts and bolts of how to run advanced training. But as I remind you, right, the quote that we say all the time is advanced training 1 fixes what? Everything. It fixes everything. And it's so freaking true. We have so many testimonials, so many examples of people that are leaving advanced training, going out there, and what's happening, right? They're popping. I love the summer schedule too because we launch on a Friday night. It gives them all Friday night, all Saturday, all Sunday, and then we run AT1 on Monday morning, which means they're out by what, noon? And then they can do 3 demos that night. How many times this summer, Claire, did we have it where reps were like 0 for 5, right? Or they only made a piece sale. They went to advanced training and then galleys and homemakers and big sets that night. All the time. Right? Not giving up on people. Ayame is raising her hand right now because when Ayame went through a fast start, she wasn't even at her first promotion. Her very last day, she popped a homemaker, an ultimate, and a galley set. It's like $3,500 in one day. And prior to that, she hadn't even hit her first promotion. So I can't stress this enough. In your notes, in your email, you're going to see this Advanced Training 1 packet. I'm going to share this with you guys right now. Managers, it's already in your email. It's going to be tough for me to share 2 different documents, but for those of you who are here publicly right now, Cutco Advanced Training, please go ahead and take one of those. I'm going to quickly go through what these handouts are. The first thing we have on here is the 10 keys to 10K. By the way, to be clear, this is not just advanced training stuff. This is how to get somebody to Dirty 30. And these are in order of importance. What is the first thing that you need to help your reps get confident with? Recommendations and handling objections, creating 5 to 10 referrals on every demo. Another reason that Kyle's confident right now is that Kyle's been averaging over 5 referrals on every appointment, and he's gotten a couple of people that gave him 20. He's not worried about leads. What's the number one reason that a representative leaves this business? Because they feel like they don't have what? Always a feeling, though. Makes sense. Look to the next thing. Number 2, closing approach and objections memorized. Right? Please make sure you guys are. Number 3, participate in 3 phone jams every week. The first phone jam that everybody should be coming to, okay, is they should be coming to the phone jam that happens on the team meeting. The second phone jam should be by choice, and the third phone jam should be by choice. But in the summertime, we have phone jams every morning and every evening, so figure that out. Next one on here is field training. Every week, get a PC with your manager. Mission 100, 10 demos scheduled a week with 5 ahead, 5 phone calls before and after, time management and event attendance, and Vector Connect audio files. Just so I know, raise your hand, give me a thumbs up in the screen if you have taken the time to watch all 15 or listen to all 15 of those audio files. So you guys are the best of the best. You guys are promoting that this is how you hit 10K and knock out Dirty 30. Some of you have never even hit Dirty 30, and the ones who have never even studied those. Level up, not one of us. And what if you did? What if you did? How much better would you be at all of those things? How much more knowledgeable would you be with all of those things? How much better would your coaching ability be with all of those things? See, if you're not the person that's done it before, then you should at least listen to talks from people who have and speak through them. That being said, the second thing, their advanced training first week in review. When somebody shows up to AT1, I expect that they fill this out. Because why? Awareness. I just sat down with Kyle. We went through a PC and we started looking at his numbers, and his feelings were a lot different than facts. Some things he thought he was a lot better at than he was, and some things he thought he sucked a lot more than he did. So it's amazing how awareness takes, right, time, but it gives you so much more leverage on how you spend your future time. So have them fill it out. Have them pass it in, right? And it's awesome. It also talks about how they did with communication and reminds them of their next meeting. Vector marketing advancement. And by the way, they don't need to turn this in. They just need to do it. That's why it's in their packet. But if they're going to keep the packet, then what's cool about that is if they keep the packet, then they can always look back at that and see how their first weekend went. If they turn it into you, that's cool, but what do we normally do with it? Nothing. Make sense? So let them hold on to it, okay? All right, what's the next document we have in here? Vector marketing advancement. This is an opportunity during your 4th day on the job for you to review their career sales. Let me make a very clear distinction, and I'd like you to put this in your notes. Reps don't know what you know. Reps don't think like you think. If they did, they'd be you. Guys, reps don't know what you know, and they don't think how you think. So don't for a minute assume that they do. If I'm you and I'm a manager, I'm putting myself in their shoes. I don't know when my first promotion hits. I don't know when I get paid. I don't know how fast start prices work. I don't know what pay percentage I'm at. I just know that I've got this new weird freaking knife job that mom and dad don't like. I've heard that it's a scam from some of my friends. And honestly, I'm in a position where, right, I already don't know if I'm going to do it for very long. So do you have their back? Because every day they don't go and talk to, we need to remember that if you're not positively influencing your reps, you can assume that somebody else negatively is impacting them. Also, every time they miss an event, they are 50% more likely to quit. And if you really manage your business from that scare and that fear tactic, you become a bit more intentional about what conversations you're having and how you're influencing them. Make sense? So again, helping them see how quickly they can advance. Also, helping them understand the path towards management. By the way, what's the first step to management? Letting me know you're interested. That's the first step. If I don't know you're interested, then I can't help you. Brandon's come to me over the past week and he's given me 3 more people that are interested in management. Hey, by the way, blank's interested, blank's interested, blank's interested. I love that. If I could just do napkin talk PCs all day long, that's fantastic. That's my favorite PC. And it gets people hooked long-term, doesn't it? Right? Cool. Now, the next thing we have on here, right, is how to make $2,000, $5,000, or $10,000 in 2 months. I don't know if there's anybody that would go through our training that wouldn't be excited about making that kind of income. So let's talk about it, right? It breaks it down and it shows them how to make $2,000, $10,000, 7 demos a week, or an average of a demo a day. You're knocking it out in $2,000. Or sorry, you're knocking out $2,000 in the next, right, 2 months. And here's the thing, guys. 2 demos a day and you're fast start. Why? Because you want to learn it faster and you want to level up and knock out the small promotions. So if you want to have a part-time job this summer of doing about a demo a day or 7 demos a week, then shoot for how many in your fast start? 2. And you promote this. They've already heard it from the videos from Drew, but now they've got it on paper. Now they're looking at it, right? How to make $5,000, 2 demos a day. And how to make $10,000, 3 demos a day. If you just do 1, 2, or 3 demos a day all throughout the summer, you're gonna make anywhere between $2,000 and $10,000. You get to choose when those demos are, but guys, flexibility doesn't mean choosing when to work. Flexibility means choosing what times you choose to work, right? You can't not work, you're not gonna make money. The keys to success: work twice as hard in your fast start, consistency in phone calls, 5 before and 5 after, 10 ahead. Every part of our program and our brand is typed into these documents. It's baked into the cake. Yet, for some reason, we aren't doing those things. It'd be amazing to think about what would improve and get better if we just did what we promote. If we just did it. If we just showed up to actually holding people accountable to doing these things. It's got this document, which I love. Consistent phoning equals consistent sales. And you can go through this as well. Demo consistency and how much that pays off. It's got this document. Manage your schedule, guarantee your results. I see some of the veterans looking at the screen right now and you're like, whoa, that would have been nice to have for the fall. You had it. It was in your email. You just had to send it and print the darn thing and give it to your people. Everything you ever need is at your disposal. It's up to you on whether you choose to use it. 15-hour-a-week schedule, 20-hour-a-week or 30-hour-a-week schedule, part-time or full-time, and breaking that down. It's got CPO bonus points and free stuff, the breakdown of how to give free stuff, how to hook people up, and why it matters, the explanation. That could be a workshop in itself. And if you give this out on the 4th day and you get 80% of your people to show up to it, guess what? It's not hard for you to walk them through that on a future workshop or an AM to do so as well. It's got the secret weapon, the trade-in special, probably the easiest way to sell any set. Yet, after day 4, how often have you mentioned trade-in special? How often have you promoted it? How often have you even offered it when somebody called you in the middle of the demo? It's the most irritating thing when managers are like, oh yeah, they almost bought that set, but they decided not to because it was a little outside their budget. And they say, hey, did you mention the trade-in special? And they're like, and they give me that face. Are you kidding me? You're the leader, you're in charge, and you forgot that we have a cash discount on the set? Come on now, right? So how much emphasis are we building with that? The chicken list PC. Helping them build their names list. Going through source by source. The memory joggers, they're built into the packet. We hand these out on day 1, but most people lose the document at home and don't bring it back to day 2, so we'll give it to them again. I was about to say something not so nice. I was going to say, sure, we're going to destroy trees, but they're just burning anyway, so eventually they get ruined. Not bad, Australia. Okay, so the best people to see list, the top 50. Nobody should leave advanced training without that thing fully filled out. And if they do, how much easier is phoning for the last 7 days of their fast start? And then the explanation of the team builder competition, how to win a scholarship, how to go after a national championship. Guys, everything a rep needs is in the packet. But if you don't have the packets printed and you're not sharing them with people, it ain't gonna work out. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna share another document here. And this document is going to be all about how to properly run Advanced Training 1. Before I do, are there any comments, any questions, anything veterans want to say to echo what I've talked about and discussed? Or do we want to move on?
This packet is definitely better than the enhancements and everything else. Just like I said, I mean, there's been so many stories that happen from advanced training, what they learn, what they take from it. This is probably one of the most important meetings, other than their first team meeting.
Initial training changes lives. Advanced training saves lives. Make sense? So let's level up our intensity with getting people to advanced training. And let's make sure that it's built into the schedule that if they don't show up to advanced training, they at least watch the advanced training videos, right? And that's something I started doing this summer. For people that didn't come to advanced training that I couldn't find a makeup for, I sent them the links to watch the videos at home. And my requirement was that they sent me their notes, right, through email, so I knew that they watched them. Cool? Now, the challenge with that is they can't be watching the videos all the time. So you have to kind of schedule that 2.5-hour block, right? Because you can't have two people using it at once. But thank you for the feedback. Good. One clap for Bailey. 1, 2, 3. Any other feedback before we dive into the actual outline?
I think it would be good if we all held ourselves accountable, make an assignment to just pick one of these audio files to listen to, every day. So if we do this Monday through Friday, so I said, for example, Monday can be phone and we just do Mike Monroe and listen to it, take notes, and then post on Tuesday we just go over recommendations.
Here's my advice. I don't know if everybody can do one a day, but I know that everybody can do one a week. And here's the deal. There's typically 17 to 18 weeks throughout any campaign. A couple of those weeks, you're probably on vacation and doing other things. So guess what? One a week means you're listening to every one of those files, every campaign. The likelihood that you're struggling as a representative if you're doing that is pretty low. So attend Vector University. Here's the other challenge that I have for you guys, right? How do you allow your assistant managers to use those as workshops, as forced accountability? Assistant managers are supposed to have a workshop and then run a phone jam. Well, guess what? Most of the time, they don't know how to run a workshop. So here's the workshop. We're going to listen to this. We're all going to share our biggest takeaway, and then we're going to jump into an hour-long phone jam. And if that were happening, not only is your assistant manager being forced to listen to this, so they're actually going to do it, right? But you also have anybody that's at the phone jam listening to it as well. This is, right, the best of the best practices. So in alignment with our strategic anchors, that's how you build your business. Sound cool? Thank you, Brandon. Very good. One clap for Brandon. 1, 2, 3. All right. Any other feedback? All right. I got 20 minutes to teach Advanced Training 1. I'm fired up about this. First off, it's scheduled for 4 hours. How long?
4 hours.
4 hours. Why 4 hours? Because an hour of it is a phone jam and a PR blitz. But it's got to be time packed in. Okay, just because the training might only be 2.5 or 3 hours does not mean that that's what we schedule it as. Because then they're expecting that the training's over at whatever time, and then you're like, by the way, we're going to phone for an hour, and they're like, well, I got a demo, right? So you've got to put it in their schedule, and I do that on day 1 of training. It's written in and it's required. Cool. So let's look at this, right? Arrivals. The first thing is I need help. So I need what?
Help.
I'm never at Advanced Training 1 by myself. I've got AMs in the room. I'm building relationships. I'm giving high fives. I'm kissing babies, and I'm pumping people up. If a representative had a slow start and they had a crappy beginning, I am more appreciative and more lovey with them than anybody else because they deserve it. They need it. And by the way, how much courage and how much confidence does it take to show up after you got your teeth kicked in for a weekend? You didn't get paid to run training. You've gone out there. You haven't made a sale. You're already feeling like crap, and you still chose to show up. You should be putting the most recognition, not in the people that sold the most, but the people who are there that didn't sell. You should be believing in them. By the way, we have this quote, sometimes you have to believe in the belief that others have in you in order to start believing in yourself. How much belief do you have in other people? And how much are you telling them that you believe in them? How much are you promoting that it's going to be okay? And that the best people in our business are the ones that had the slowest starts. Let's talk about Bailey Hellman. Let's talk about Brandon Cobb. Let's talk about what's becoming another slow start story for Mr. Kyle. And let's talk about where those individuals are now. Let's talk about Josh Mueller. Let's talk about Curtis JQs. Most of our best people, guys, got off to the worst starts. But it took somebody believing them, having that worst start, for them to stick around and believe in themselves. So again, making sure you have help, making sure that you're using that first few minutes to hand them a packet, give them a high five, recognize them, get their stats on the board, making sure that you're no war stories. That's the thing. Never, ever leave the room before Advanced Training 1, because the first thing people are going to start to do is ask each other this question. So how are things going? And more often than not, the first response is not going to be a positive one because it's easier to talk about your challenges than it is to talk about your victories. You leave that room for 10, 30 seconds, something like that. You walk back in, and all of a sudden they're like, dude, yo, you got cut? I got cut too. Without a doubt, it's never a positive story that they're telling. And the person, by the way, that shipped like 3 or 4 grand is so busy adding up their numbers and doing their paperwork that they can't weigh in on it. So they're sitting there at $500 in income, and all the people who have nothing to do because they didn't produce results are all having this little pity party. Never leave the room. 100% somebody needs to be in there. That's why you need help. Does that make sense? They also need to be filling out their QPR, filling out their document, and working through this. All right, let's look at the next thing, the welcome. We're recognizing things. Hey, great job. I heard you did this. Hey, great job on that. Why does this matter? Because in a big district office, we're going to split into teams. And by the way, when we split into teams, you're not talking to every rep. That's why everything needs to be tracked and recorded in WebPDI so that the night before or the morning of, you can look through that and you can say, okay, here's what we've got and here's what we're going to be, right, recognizing. And that way I'm in the know. I'm in the loop with everybody on my team. All right, next big thing, first weekend results. I always start here, 15 minutes. And by the way, if our advanced training starts, let's say at, 10 o'clock in the summer, the first 15 minutes is a lot of admin. It's a lot of paperwork. It's a lot of recognition. It's a lot of storytelling. I don't dive right into running the training, right? It's not like, all right, it's 10 o'clock, let's go. There's a little bit of socializing. They need that, right? Because most of them are coming in. And what's your number one goal? To establish confidence and help them make an incredible plan to finish their fast start. So let's go through this, right? 10% got off to a bad start, and I tell stories. 80% got off to the average. It's, hey, if you haven't hit your first promotion, it's probably because you haven't done 7 demos. By the way, for everybody that's done 7 demos, you hit your first promotion. And what I like to do is on the board, put their results, not to judge them, but Kyle remembers this, right? I will go through in that 15 minutes and I'll say, great, I put their name on the board. Hey, how many demos do you complete? How many orders have you gotten? Right? What's your CPO total? How many recommendations have you created, right? And how many demos do you have ahead? And that automatically sets up my phone jam. But then they can look at it and they gain real awareness. Oh, well, Kyle hit his first promotion, but Kyle did 7 demos. I've only done 3 and I'm at 400. Well, Kyle's not better than me. He's just had more demos. They won't say that stuff to you, but they'll think it, right? The rep that did rip up a 3 or 4 or 5 or 6K weekend probably is also the rep that did the most demos. And more importantly, I say anything that's happened so far doesn't matter, but anything that's going to happen does. So I'm not judging you on your results, but I'm definitely judging you on your demos ahead. And if you don't have 5 ahead, that's your ticket out the door. You can't leave the office until you have what? And we start that habit. We start that culture from the very beginning. Make sense? Cool. The next thing I talk about, right, is the 10% that got off to a strong start. I always have them put this in their notes: work ethic, attitude, and demos. All that matters is demos. Here's a great phrase to write down and repeat, repeat, repeat. It's never about days. It's only about what? It's only about what?
Demos.
It's only about what? Demos. That's all you should care about. You get paid based on demo count. So how good are you at driving demos? How good are you at establishing that and making that happen as you move forward? All right. I hope we're all focused and listening. I'm seeing some screens that are distracted. So let's keep going, right? The next thing we've got is the purpose of today. All I've taught you how to do so far is to show Cutco. Now I'm going to teach you to sell it. Getting more appointments. And then we'll make up a plan to have an incredible fast start. I always have them write this down too. Your second weekend is always what? Guys, follow the freaking manual. It's in your script. Second weekend is always what? Bigger than the first. So get excited. You're better at the job, better at the demo, more confident. You have more time, bigger expectations, and I'm going to teach you the secret weapon. Who wants to know about the secret weapon? Woo! Lame. I'm not teaching. You got to work hard on that. This thing is going to teach you to sell a set on every demo. I know we're role playing right now, but just in this room, when I'm going at this level of energy, what's the difference? What's the feeling? What's the vibe? When I tease you a little bit with something, come on, you know that it's just a game, but hey, even you guys as veterans, it's feeling good. So how do you run your training? What kind of energy? When I'm done running a training, I'm exhausted. When I'm done going through today, both Leadership Academy and Division Meeting, I go straight to bed. I don't have any energy left. And that's the way I like it, because that means I won the day. So then we go into the crucial key. You got to complete 10 more demos for the rest of your fast start. And it's built in, right? Breaking it down. 1 to 3K, 10 demos equals 1 to 3K, 20 demos 3 to 6, 30 to 40 equals 10K fast start, right? Challenge people. And let's not forget, this is really important. It's not baked in the AT1 on the handout. If a representative is over $1,000 in their first weekend, they are on track for a 10K fast start. I'm going to say that again. If a representative is over how much?
Okay.
They're on track for 10K. If a representative is over 3,000 in their first weekend, they're on track for 15K. Because think about it. They had zero confidence that first weekend, didn't even know the heck they were doing. So if they've already shipped $3,000 first weekend, I bet that if they were doing 4 to 5 a day for the next 7 days, they could have a 10K week and get close to 15, right? And if a representative ships 6K in their first weekend, they're on track for breaking the state record and getting over 20 grand. And if you're not promoting records, you should be. What is your office record? I don't know. In the pilot, it's over 15 grand. What is the state record in the division? Well, it's Whitney Finch in 2014 up at OSU, $20,000, 500. By the way, what's the national record? Kid down in Dallas, Texas, trained by your own Brian Carter, $40,000 in his fast start. The number 1 fast starter ever was trained by Brian Carter. The number 2 fast starter ever was also trained by Brian Carter in the company history. And Brian Carter is our events coordinator. Guys, we are surrounded by golden opportunities and people. So think about that, right? And promote it. Then I always like to have everybody share what they liked most about the job. I don't do the low. I just say, hey, what's your favorite part? We're not here to tell war stories, right? And they laugh. I say, anybody else get that experience? Awesome, 1 clap, and we go around. Depends on the size of the group, but you're getting all this knocked out, don't forget, in the first 15. Everybody good on this? Let's move on. Next thing we do is spend 15 minutes in their packet, walking them through what's possible. And this is your stump speech. This is where you promote vision. This is where you show off your promotion board. This is where you talk about your top 10. This is where you say, here's where this person's going to get. Here's where this person's going to get. Here's what we need, right? Hey, here's the opportunity for management, right? And you really plug them into that. This is where you break this down, okay? I want everybody to really put a star next to SLDM. The first step to anything advancement-wise in this company is getting over 3K and outside your fast start. Because once you're over 3K, you get invited to SLDM. SLDM stands for Sales Leadership Development Conference. It is a meeting with my division manager, and this is where you get to meet the guy who runs the whole state. He's at $15 million in sales. You build me up, and then you talk about what I'm going to teach him. He's going to teach you how to sell Ultimates, how to sell flatware, how to sell cookware. He's going to teach you how to sell the Wusthof and Henkel's owners. He's going to teach you how to upgrade past customers, and he's going to teach you how to have an incredible campaign and be one of the #1 reps. And he's the guy you need to know if you ever have sights set on moving into the events team or running your own office. What kind of stump speech do you do for that, right? Talking about Dirty 30 and how much fun it's going to hit. And talking about, guys, how it takes how many demos a week? 5 a week to hit Dirty 30. Nobody's too busy to knock out Dirty 30. But why don't we have more people winning? Because there's not the consistent vision. We're lacking that. There's not a vision that everybody can hit Dirty 30. If you're listening to me right now, what held you back from Dirty 30? Was it really a lack of skill, or was it really a lack of the fact that you didn't do enough what? Demos. That's it. The only reason that a rep doesn't hit Dirty 30 is that they weren't consistent with demos. Which means every 2- and 3-star recruit that you ever launch, you should have an expectation that they are hitting Dirty 30, right? We talk about mastering the fundamentals and learning the opportunities. By the way, all of this stuff, if you want to make a note on your paper, is all packed into what? 10 keys to what? So I just review this. I just review 10 keys to 10K. And I say, hey, if you want to be successful and hit Dirty 30, master this stuff. And that is what I cover there. The next thing I cover is management levels. That's also on the bottom of that advancement document. And I talk to them about the first step to management is letting me know you're interested. And then I'll spend 10 minutes after that talking about QPRs, paychecks, and then jump into teaching. By the way, I use my whiteboard, I do the breakdowns, and I use legit reps for breaking down their QPRs. I point at the rep who had a really tough start, and I say, how cool is it that it's not commission-based only? Because if it was, you'd be making nothing. But because it's not, you've done 5 demos, you've all had no sales, and that's okay, but here's how it works. And then I also use the rep who did do well, and I break that math down, and I show them the paycheck. And I say, hey, so what's easier to make money on here, guys? Base pay or incentive? What do they say? Incentive, 100%. So that's why we should be booking our best 5 and putting Cutco in front of Matt clients. Your goal should not to be making base pay here. And we get them bought into that. They see the math, they understand the math, right? Now, if it's the summer and we're running advanced training on Monday, we need to communicate that any demos they do that evening on Monday still count for their paycheck, right? And their paperwork is due Tuesday. If it's non-summer, they're coming in on a Tuesday, take their paperwork, give them another QPR, and get them out there doing more demos. You guys with me on this? Cool. But you got to make sure all that's accurate. Moving on, right? Don't forget to check in from every demo, regardless of the sale, and talk about the 3 reasons their paycheck is incorrect. They either incorrectly calculated their CPO, which is why every base pay should be checked. They either had an order that didn't process. There was a problem order, right? We had that. We had actually Avi. She had a problem homemaker. Then it got fixed, and then she got it on this paycheck, right? And then the third thing is they didn't turn in their paperwork. Turn in your paperwork. Don't be an idiot. I can't guess how much to pay you. Pretty simple. So 15 minutes to kick it off, 15 minutes to promote and do your stump speech, and 10 minutes then for you to review paychecks. You're 40 to 45 minutes in at this point. Everybody good on this? And now we're diving into teaching. It's a very simple teaching process, but you got to stay efficient. Role playing is the key to getting them confident. It's you role playing and then giving them time to role play. So let's look at the things we're teaching. I'm about to teach you guys how to sell something every time and how to increase your average order. Who wants to start selling more sets? Hands up. Who wants to sell more frequently? Who wants to never have another no sale? All right, keep dreaming. But most of you, right? And again, do you notice how I'm having fun? Even my most veteran guy here, Bailey's, who'd every joke 15 times laughed louder than everybody else. Are you having fun? Write that question down. Are you having fun? Because you know what I know about especially the youth? They are attracted to the F word. Yes. They're probably attracted to more F words too. But the one I'm referring to is the word fun.
Dedication. Look at that. Dedication.
Your people are attracted to having fun. And I can guarantee you that if your trainings aren't fun, I wouldn't want to go to them either. Food, fun, phoning, and friends. That's how you attract and develop a great team. Because that's what young people are motivated by these days. Food, fun, friends, and hopefully phoning because it makes them money too. Doing things, yeah, like having fruit out on the table, letting them know that every time you come to the office, I'm going to feed you, having the snack bowls, having waters already set out. I mean, what are you doing that are little that make the big things happen? They feel like you were expecting them to be there, right? You've got a packet printed and they're ready for the group. Cool. Let's talk about what you're teaching. The 10 things. It's an hour long. So you can break it down. And what I love about this is it's not on video. So you know what that means? You can actually cater it to your group. If your group is doing an effective job with demoing and checking in, then they probably don't need as much influence on that. And you can cater that to upgrades or upsells. If they're sucking and you're having a lot of issues with selling sets, you can talk more about dropping down. So you can cater it to your group, right? But you need to have stories that you can tell as you do this. And by the way, if you're going to run an office and you are not going to run a live advanced training 1, that's a problem. I would not recommend using the videos. Advanced training 1 needs to be convicted. It needs to be from the heart. It needs to be passionate. And you need to sell them on why they matter and why they should be around and why they should buy into your long-term vision. There's no more important meeting for a brand new representative than advanced training 1. More important meeting for you and for your staff, which is the staff meeting, right? And one for your team, which is the team meeting. But in a fast start, nothing's more important than this. So we tell stories about the difference of following the manual. I would also write down a tip for this. Ask a lot of questions. Ask a lot of questions. Who noticed that if you just read the manual, it worked? And by the way, the ones that don't raise their hand are bombarded with everybody that does. And they're like, oh, I should follow it, right? You're not calling them out individually, but there's a little bit of peer pressure on the fact that they should be doing these things. Telling stories about cutting food, who got some awesome reactions, who brought a pineapple, and just asking those questions without a doubt. You'll have people like, oh, dude, for sure. I brought a pineapple, they bought a set. Without a doubt. You just have to be careful for some people telling too long of stories and consuming the total of the hour, right? So don't invite them, right? Invite the stories. Invite the people, just don't invite the stories. All right. Asking questions. Having fun. Talking about how the more you be yourself. Some of you need to loosen up. Some of you need to relax. Some of you need to stop taking yourself so seriously. And some of you need to tighten it up a little bit. Some of you are too relaxed. You're not doing it the right way. So finding the healthy balance, okay? It's about building rapport, giving them permission to do a better job at gaining trust, giving them permission to do a better job at sharing their goals, giving them permission to do a better job, right, at building a relationship and letting them know that I'm not going to spend my money with you if I don't trust you. Telling stories, teaching them how, learning how to walk around the house. We all have those examples, but do your stories. Are they effective? Are they efficient? And do they have power? Does that make sense? Building confidence, giving them permission to start doing the job right, not making them feel bad for doing the job wrong. Giving them time to update their thermometer. I have highlighters. I pass them around. I ask them to open up their blue books, to update their thermometer, to write the names in of their sales, to write the reasons they're excited about their fast start, to fill in the goal at the bottom, right? Some of you need a visual on this, right? But it's so funny because we give them this thermometer and then they come in 4 days later, they've sold $1,000 or $2,000 and it's completely blank. And you know what? This thermometer is not just for their fast start. After their fast start's over, you do a day 11 PC. You know what I tell my people to do? Grab a Sharpie, cross it out, and write dirty 30. Who cares if you don't get the prizes? You're still working towards the darn goal, and that's a lot faster and more effective than having them write a brand new fast start or a brand new thermometer. Does that make sense? And they don't need to turn this in as their order form. You just go online and order their prizes, right? But man, how effective are you with teaching them how to share their goals? I really believe that that's one of the biggest things that will build our productivity. All right, what's next? The close. Pages 8 and 9, the DM role plays. I literally start at the top of page 8. I have them all get out their blue books with their training manuals, and I read it word for word. And I make 2 of my reps my husband and wife. They're right in front of me, right? So congrats, you just got married, and I start to role play. I say, hey, do your best at trying to tell me no, but if I'm doing a good job, don't be afraid to tell me yes. And we go through it. And I look at them and I smile and nod, and typically they say no. And then I handle the objection. I fake call my manager. I role play what that feels like, and then I get them to say yes. I write down prices when I do that. And then I normally go down to a galley or a starter. But by that point, I've got them to say yes like 2 or 3 times. All right, so what did we learn? And then I teach them the 5 things that I was doing that helped them out. See where it says role play? If you have the time, have them role play just page 9. Have them role play asking for the order, okay, and handling the objections. Number 6 is the objection cycle. Teach them, tell them stories. We've heard all of these, right? And then what do? We role play. Page 9, guys, at the bottom, you're going to ask each other if you want to buy. You're going to say no. Say, if you don't mind me asking. Because how do we learn best as humans, guys? Repetition. Make sense? Cool. Then we go into dropping down. I talk about the importance of dropping down slowly. I tell the story. I talk about how you got to ask 5 times, right? And most people don't. They ask 4. And then what do? We talk about the 5 simple keys to dropping down. I teach the secret weapon for advanced training 1. I teach them how to use it and when to promote it. I show off the wish list, which is using page 13 and 14. And with the new manual, that's going to be awesome, and the updated one. And then I make them make a list of virtual demos. Those 10 keys take somebody from I'm about to quit to I can actually do this. And now that they're feeling good, like I can actually do this, we're going to help them with the second part, and that is getting more demos. Because all we really need to teach in Advanced Training 1 is how I feel good and how I can get more demos. If reps are feeling good and they have more demos, they're not going to quit. Cool? So what are we doing now? Well, we're helping them with the recommendation script. We're teaching them the Peeler program. We're helping them role play, and we're telling stories about the importance of asking for 10. Remember, reps don't know what you know, and they don't think the way you think. You have to put yourself back in their shoes. Next thing we're doing is talking about how to handle objections. I would write next to this one, page 17. You're teaching page 17 because you haven't covered it at that point. And you're role-playing how to handle objections. You're giving them thought joggers. You're teaching them the phrase, who do you know who? Right? And giving them permission to be pleasantly persistent. You're reminding them of the text message, asking them to send it out, and challenging them to follow up with the people that didn't send the text and go back to them to actually send the text. And lastly, you're talking about the top 50 list, 10 inches of water versus 10 feet, which would you dive head into, and waiting. By the way, a big thing you need to write down is challenge your people to wait on calling recommendations as long as possible. It's my belief that if you got a 2 or 3 star recruit and they actually called all the people they knew, they could sell 10 grand without ever calling a referral. And how much more likely are you to be long-term with us if you jump in your referrals after you've hit 10K? Then you what? Referral list is what? 150, 200 people strong? Right. But how often do we give people permission to jump into their fast start referrals? Or we don't give them permission, they just do it because we don't ask them not to. Think about that, right? I teach them page 31, and I make a list of the top 10 friends they need to get their parents' numbers, because this is the biggest thing holding them back from making some big sales. It's their friends' parents. We go through the chicken list document that's already packed into the packet, and we challenge them to come up with an extra 200 or 300 ideas and give them the next 24 to 48 hours to have those ideas. I even tell them in advanced training too, I'm going to be asking you how many new leads you added to your list. So if you're not in a demo, you should be getting more leads or on the phone. Then we talk about phone skills. We review the script. We remind them what helped them get demos their first weekend, because they probably stopped doing it. We teach them to role play the objections so they're better at it. And we go through the phoning consistency document. 2, do 2, set 2, do 3, set 3, do 4, set 4. We review the proper goals for their fast start and how to determine a good goal. 7 demos equals $1,000, and pick a day for their Dirty 30 birthday. We also challenge them to enter the 10K, 20K, and 30K club. And I would even make posters. They can't leave Advanced Training 1 until they put their name on one of the clubs. That's something you could do, right? What is the culture in your office? Time management. This is where I print them an actual schedule. Now, if you want the cheap version, you can go online to Lit, and under literature, you can order carbon copies of their weekly schedule. And you can use those. They're inexpensive. You take one, you give them one, and then you hold them accountable to that. If you want to go the more expensive route, which I firmly believe, you can make planner copies, right? With the blank planner, $3 a planner. That's what it's going to come out to. And at $3 a planner, you're going to be in a position where that's the best investment you can make, because it doesn't cost much to cover that, right? And when they know that they've got 4 months ahead that they can dive into and they can see that breakdown, think about that, right? You're showing them that you're expecting them to be around long term. Last things we do on here is jump into the phone jam, 45 minutes to an hour at that point. And by the way, we talk about the importance of having 5 ahead, booking their next best 5, working on their top 50 list, and then of course, personal recruiting. This is where we're doing send out 50 more messages. This is where we're promoting extend your fast start. This is where we're driving the phone switch, right? And this is where we're kicking off a blitz. Cool? And then we wrap it all up. So as a reminder, before we bring up our last speaker for the night, Advanced Training 1 saves lives. You got to get people there. This is where you get them tied in to being CPR certified and understanding the importance of mastering closing, phoning, and recommendations. Advanced Training 2, you can use the videos if you choose. I think they're great, but you got to run it. Any training is better than no training. And Advanced Training 2 should always be on Thursdays before the team meeting. Advanced Training 3 is up to you, but really it's just an excuse to get them back in the office one more time before their next big weekend, get them learning, and get them in the right mindset so they can launch into a weekend of success with tons of demos. Sound fair? Sweet. So glad we covered that. Glad it's on recording. I hope you guys learned a lot from that. And I just want to remind you that this training is one that you really want to be prepared. You really want to think through and put in the work. Sound cool? So to wrap up our Leadership Academy with the last 15 minutes, we have Claire Beckman. And Claire is our most veteran branch manager that will be going out there. I'm fired up for her. And she is one of the best when it comes to Facebook Jumpstart and when it comes to social media. She's learned a lot from it. She's made some great connections. It's helped her drive a lot of referrals for sales here in Edmond, because she's from Colorado. And it's also allowed her to get into some really good pockets with some really good schools here in the Edmond and OKC area. She was a pilot manager for the Edmond office last summer and helped our organization have a great summer. She'll be going to Paris in less than 2 months. Less than 2 months. We will be in Paris hanging out, going to the Eiffel Tower, doing some food tours. It's going to be great. And she is going to be opening up a branch manager office for 2020. By the way, she's already talking crap that she's going to beat everybody in Rec Shop. So I'm excited to see who can put up a good fight with Claire. But she's here to talk to you about Facebook Jumpstart and something called Branch Impact. So let's give her a round of applause. Bring her up. Claire Beckman. I'll adjust your camera.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You look great.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
It's good to be back. I feel like I haven't been in the office for a really long time, so this is fun. Yeah. Well, I'm actually really excited to deliver this message tonight because I really believe in everything that we're building, and especially for this summer, I'm confident that it's going to change a lot for the division, if not change everything. and I'm really excited to be a part of it. So I've been preparing for a long time for Branch. I think that for a long time I just didn't feel like I was ready until now, and I've especially been preparing this whole year like a lot of you guys, and now we're 15 weeks away, and so now things are getting really serious, and it's time to double down on what we are doing and our actions and start to be more consistent. So throughout the past couple of years of being with Vector, I've seen how they continue to present programs and create more resources for people to have a chance at being successful and make it simpler for people to excel. So I first want to talk about this new one that Nick told me about the other day, and I'm actually really excited. And I'm going to read a couple of the stuff that I just got off of their Facebook site that I'm going to show you guys how to get on. But I really think that everyone should go on Facebook and join this group, which we'll talk about how to do that in a minute. So it's called Branch Impact, and basically a girl, Shelby Wilgust, she's from the Eastern region, but she developed this program, and they have one of the strongest Jan programs in the company. And so basically what it is a Facebook group that you can join, and it's going to be consistent with sharing ideas, tips, and they're going to have different training courses. They're going to have weekly calls, and this is specifically designed for branch managers, but I think any kind of management candidate can join on here. But I really like how they describe branch managers. It's the elite branch opportunity, which I found was really cool how they were explaining that. So it is really special, and so if you're wanting to take your management and your training to the next level, this is what you should be a part of. So there's going to be a Zoom call. The first one, I believe, is going to be on January 14th. It's at 3 o'clock Central Time. So you should write that down and put that in your schedule and see if you're free to be on that. And it's also going to be recorded. It's January 14th at 3. They're going to post a lot of reminders about this specific Zoom call that's coming up, but they're every single month. And if you can't make it, they're going to be recorded and posted on the Facebook page. Second part about it is that they're going to be recognizing you through your hard work, and so it's really interactive, so you can be talking to other branch managers around the nation and be getting advice from them, which I think is always beneficial to be able to talk to other people doing exactly what you're doing and see what you can improve or how you can help someone else. So I really like that aspect, and I think it's really cool, and it's something I haven't seen really happen before except for the coaching program that I was part of over this year. But I like how it's extended to everyone. It's really cool. So just go on, we'll send this out in group meets and stuff, but if you just look up Branch Impact on Facebook, request to join, and it will ask you a couple questions, and then they'll approve your request. So definitely join that. I'm really excited to be on this call on the 14th. I'm for sure going to be on it and be posting my takeaways, so we should all be posting that as well. So the big part about what I wanted to go over with you guys is Facebook Jumpstart, and this has been around for about 3 years now. I remember the first year that Facebook Jumpstart came out, I actually started using it, and the first person I ever got from Facebook Jumpstart was a 10K fast starter, and she continued to go throughout the whole summer and saw almost 20K. So if you don't know what it is, and I'm sure some of you don't, it's just an additional recruiting tool that you guys can use that really it astronomically improves the outcome of your summer. And there's summers that I have used it a lot, and there's summers that I haven't, and I see the difference and how it helps. So really what you're doing is you're just implementing social media, and it doesn't have to be just Facebook specifically, but we, like Vector, has created a lot of different tricks and stuff on how you can maximize your time on Facebook. So I'll tell you a little bit of those, but basically you're just friending a lot of local students in your area. So wherever your territory is going to be, you're going to be friending all those people over the next like 14 weeks as we come up into the summer. So you're just friending all these people. What I like about it, and I'm going to talk about in a minute, is that you really can control who you're friending and who you're reaching out to. And so you're kind of recruiting the kind of people you want in your office. So they're all high school grads, no one that's not a high school grad, and college students. And then one of the tricks that we've had is you can mass friend people. So you can send out like 100 friend requests all at the same time or more. And so I think someone came out with a way that you can do that with messages, but that was after my summer doing it last year, so I'm not familiar with that. But what else is cool is that Vector supplies like all of the scripts that you need, all of the replies. It's all on this Facebook Jumpstart group, which I'll tell you how to get on that in a minute as well. But what's really nice is that it's a low pressure approach to recruiting, and I'm sure you guys, like girls specifically on the call, if you've ever gotten a message from another girl saying like, hey, you look cool, like you should try out my product, it's not like that kind of message. Really what it is, hey, do you know anyone that's looking for work this summer? So that's kind of the approach that we take. And then most of the time it's the person replies, actually, or I'm looking for work. And so it's a great way to low pressure recruit people. And it's not like a huge detailed explanation right when you send them. Why do you want to do this? So this is what's really cool. I wish I had some reports. I was going to print them out, but there's a higher PPR from Facebook than pretty much every other recruiting source that we do. And if we had a number, Nick, do you know what the PPR off Facebook is?
It's the highest. It's higher
Yeah.
than PPR of PRs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So I know that I've gotten about 10K or 3 10K fast starters just from Facebook. And a lot of those people that we recruit are super sharp kids that come in. So you're getting more control over who walks through the door. You're targeting more 3 stars. And then also just imagine that all of the recruits that you're getting from the PRs that you get off of Facebook. So that's really neat when you look at it that way. So when you're starting in a brand new territory, one of the most intimidating things I know for myself is that I'm going in there and I don't have people in my office yet. And so this gives you a lot of control over how you're going to start your summer. So you don't have to go into your office and have 0 reps already there. You can go in and have already a bunch of people set up for interviews. And right the first day you're in the office, you have 20 people set up for interviews if you do it the right way. And so I've seen people implement that the right way and they kill it. I know that Nicole Nisbet was one of those examples, and she had a lot of 10K fast starters and people shipping 20K per summer that she was doing branch. Super easy also, especially with what I was talking about with mass messaging and mass friending people, sending out all of that. If you're just doing 50 messages a day over the next several weeks, you're going to be setting yourself up in a really good way. So how? So this is the other one that you want to write down is go on Facebook and just search Social Jumpstart, and you just click on that, request to join, and then you'll get accepted into that. I'm not going through all the steps, obviously, on like how to do Facebook Jumpstart. On the Social Jumpstart, you'll see lessons that you can watch and listen to. It teaches you everything on how to do it and start now. Put in your schedules when you're going to start the first lesson and listen to that. If you're a veteran manager and you've already listened to all of these, listen to them again. I know that I'm doing that as well, just because I think there's so much room for improvement, especially in myself. I know that I want to get a lot better at this, and I see the opportunity, especially going into branch managers. This is a really exciting tool to be able to use. And then just consistency, discipline, and effort. That's how we're going to win 2020. So after all of that, make sure that you post on like the GroupMe when you're joined and everything. I would think that's probably a good idea. If you can't find the groups on Facebook, we can send them out and share them on GroupMe's for you guys. So as for some assignments and stuff, what I would start doing is break down a detailed personal sales goal. And then start working on your schedule breakdown for the campaign coming up for the spring, mainly because I think that with your schedule, I know for myself as a student, it's going to be hard managing all of my different stuff if I don't have it all planned and perfect. So I'm going to be going through with my schedule and have that all ready before your banquet myself. So that's all I have for you guys.
Thanks. Give a round of applause. Thank you very much. I love hearing the stories and the people that she's been able to impact, the top level 10K fast starters. At one point, there was a branch manager that literally hit the company trip purely off of just the Facebook Jumpstart recruits that they had. And just so you guys know, there was another test done that had a social media, right, which is basically Facebook Jumpstart, and social media recruits are in the neighborhood of $8,000 to $10,000 productivity per rep. By the way, Bailey Hellman launched a kid, 18-year-old high school senior, off of a Snapchat named Zane Howell. Yeah, you might know that guy. In 6 weeks, he sold $32,000 with a Cutco and made like 10 grand, right? So pretty impressive. And Zane went to one of our top private schools. Your best reps are not going to be found, right, unless you jump on social media. Cool. And what's amazing about it is you get to hand pick who you want to be really focused on, right? So start to do some research. Who are the Instagram influencers in your territory? Or who are the Facebook influencers? Can you talk to them? Can you brand a relationship with them? And even if they don't need a job, can you work something out for a little bit of free Cutco or an opportunity for you to promote what they do on social media if they're willing to promote what you do, right? Can you imagine how many eyes you could get of your right target market seeing the opportunity and seeing the potential of this? Sound cool? So I hope you're ready for that. I know that we need to start this now. This should have already been started before. We need to get into the habit, and we need to build up our Facebook friends, because the bigger you build it, right, then when messaging does begin, you can only send 50 messages max. So you're going to need to build this. And for district offices, you need to figure out who are your definitely legit staff, what markets and what schools are you getting into, and how are we starting to build that culture, right? I even think about being creative, being innovative, using things like, how do we get ads out on TikTok? How do we get ads out on things like Instagram, right? So Facebook, right? Twitter. By the way, I also think about how do we use Snapchat better? And I start to think about even payments, right? I don't know if you guys have heard of Venmo, but Venmo doesn't show the amount, but it shows the relationship unless it's hidden. Well, how can you go on to Venmo and Venmo somebody 50 cents? But then in that, you could put in, by the way, my job is hiring, starting pay is $18. If you or anybody you know is looking for work, definitely click on this link. And you could put that into Venmo. If you did that and you had all of your AMs pay each other one time a week for 50 cents, right, and pay each other back, think about how many networks and how many eyes we're getting on that. You know, that's really the truth, is how many feelers can you get out there of people that might be seeing the opportunity that you offer and seeing how that breaks down. Does that sound cool? All right, great. So what I want you guys to do right now is write down some assignments. Assignment number one is finish Cabo push strong. So finish push what? Strong. Right? It's not about where you finish, it's about how you finish. How many more orders? How many more demos? How much can you produce? Not giving up till the very end. The biggest plays are still out there to be made. Number two assignment, right, is you need to make sure that you make your monthly budget. If you haven't done that yet, we talked about finances. Figure it out. Number three is we need to be looking at things like the Total Money Makeover, your relationship with money, Financial Peace University, right? And how quickly can you start an automatic financial withholding program? Automatic withdrawal. Guys, if 20 is too much for you, can you start it at 10? Can you start it at 10? $40 a month for the next 4 months is still $160. If you never touch it, that's better than nothing, right? Save $1,000 in your emergency account. So get that done ASAP, all right? And the last big assignment is you need to make sure you text me your total amount you want to have saved by May 1st. And in addition to that, what is your personal sales goal for the spring campaign? The spring is going to be busy, especially for those of you opening offices. You have to do office searching. You're on Facebook Jumpstart, right? And a lot of other things. We also are going to have the AM boot camp calls that are going to be coming, right? And we're going to need to be putting a lot of the time into preparation for momentum building for summer. It's the busy season. We need to act as if it's day one of summer now, right? And stop living in the someday mentality land. Right? If not now, when? Every day counts. Every day matters. Let's have the best year ever, and let's go forward into 3 million and beyond. Does that sound good? So for those of you who don't know, which is probably everyone, when is our next Leadership Academy? Because at the end of everything we do, we should always know when our next one is. So do we know? It's in February. That's good. I'm glad we're on to something. All right. So make sure it's in your schedule, but it's February 7th. Okay, February 6th, my bad. Leadership Academy number 8 is February 6th. It's a Thursday, so make sure that you put that in your schedule. Make sure that you're ready. There will also be a division meeting. And don't forget, starting in mid-February, we encounter March Madness in the region. which is an opportunity to win a ton of prizes and compete and make a name for yourself in your office. So keep that in mind. Let's get really serious about finishing Push Strong. And I will see you back on here in 10 minutes for the division meeting opening. And we will talk about vision and recognition for 2019 and 2020 and beyond. Thanks, guys. See ya. Where am I?